Good evening, and welcome to the Town Council meeting of Monday, October 17th, 2022, at 7 p.m. here in the McKinnon Council Chambers. Relative to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded by both video and audio methods. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2 is roll call.
Councilor Adams, present. Councilor Daniel?
Present.
Councilor Dow? Present. Councilor Lazo?
Present.
Councilor Marchetti?
Present.
Councilor Montigny?
Present.
Councilor Rivas?
Present.
Councilor Ryan?
Excused.
Councilor Steves?
Present.
At 8.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Item number 3, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, September 26th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Any corrections, additions, deletions? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? We have one abstention. Item number 4, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, October 3rd, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have one abstention.
2. Myself as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2. 602. Item number 5, subcommittee reports. General Government, Council Steves.
We have not met recently, and we have none scheduled.
Very good. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you. The DPW Subcommittee met on October 11th and tonight, October 17th. Following agendas were discussed. Tonight's agenda number 10 voted to confirm the town manager appointment of Benjamin Doros as maintenance man, equipment operator for the town of Southbridge DPW department. Agenda item number 11 tonight, vote to purchase HP Design Jet T2600DR from CDW for $14,395.50. Agenda item number 12 tonight, vote to confirm town manager's appointment of Ty & Bond and interim engineers for on-call and VHB, as interim engineers for on-call service. We voted to postpone this item on the 11th, and we voted to postpone it again tonight. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Very good. Education and Human Services would be Councilor Ryan. She's unavailable. We'll move forward. Planning and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we have had no meetings since our last Town Council meeting, but I will be discussing agenda item number 13, and our next meeting is scheduled for November 2nd, and that will be online. I will not be in town at that point in time, so I'll be online that day. Thank you.
Very good. Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Lazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No meeting scheduled at this time. No report. Thank you.
Very good. Item number 6, Chairman's announcements. I have nothing this evening. Item number 7, Town Manager's announcements.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, residents here in the hall, as well as watching from home. First of all, I wanted to let you know that since we last met, we've had 2 new employees start here at Town Hall. We've had Victor Rule, who's our new IT director, who started, and today we welcomed Daniel Waziuk, our new director of public health. So I congratulate them and welcome them aboard. I've also been asked by Ms. Dean to read a couple of announcements here relative to our community block development grant. The first, I have to read it in both English and Spanish. The town will be holding a public hearing Wednesday, October 26th at 6 p.m. in the Economic Development and Planning Office for input into the next CDBG Community Development Block Grant application. This upcoming round will combine FY22 and FY23 funds, allowing us to apply for up to $1.35 million in projects to benefit our low and moderate income residents. Again, that will be held on Wednesday, October 26th in the Economic Development and Planning Office. La ciudad llevaría a cabo una audiencia pública el miércoles 26 de octubre a las 7 p.m. en la Oficina de Desarrollo Económico y Planificación, Councilor Rivas, para obtener información sobre su próximo solid de CDBG. Esta próxima ronda combinará fondos para el año 22 y año 23, lo que nos permitirá solicitar hasta 1.35 millón y proyectos para beneficiar a nosotros residentes de ingresos bajos y moderados. Nuevamente, esa se llevaría a cabo el miércoles 26 de octubre a las 7 en la... how do I say evening?
De la noche.
De la noche en la Oficina de Desarrollo Económico y Planificación. So, I'm sorry for anybody who didn't understand all of that. So,
You did well.
Just so we know, last week, we're working on the pay-as-you-throw. I did attend a meeting last week with Ms. Anna Smith. This Wednesday, I'll be attending a Mass DEP event with KP Law regarding contracting for solid waste and recycling services as part of our ongoing discussions. We did meet today for an online webinar regarding some of the prohibitions coming up through Mass DEP on disposal of certain materials. And Ms. Smith has asked me to read the following. Again, I apologize, a little bit lengthy. As part of Mass DEP's goal to reduce trash disposal statewide, Mass DEP has expanded its current waste disposal bans by adding mattresses, including box springs and textiles, to the list of materials banned from disposal in Massachusetts effective November 1st of 2022. Residents will have the following options to recycle their mattresses and box springs. After November 1st, residents can call Casella at 1-800-CASELLA for curbside pickup. The cost is $35 per item. Each mattress or box spring must be placed in plastic mattress disposal bags. These can be purchased at Home Depot, Lowe's, or Walmart. They will not be collected if they are not in a plastic bag. After November 1st, residents will have the option of bringing mattresses to Casella's Oxford Transfer Station on the same day as the quarterly household hazardous waste collection days for a fee of $25 per item. Please do not put textiles in the trash or in recycling toters. Textiles should be placed in one of the collection boxes throughout town. Visit thinkreduce.com for a list of locations. Rain barrels are still available through the Southbridge Health Department for $25 each, and they are being subsidized by a Mass DEP Recycling Dividends Program grant. We have paid $60 for them. Compost bins are available through the Southbridge Health Department for $25 each to residents. Again, these are being subsidized by the Mass DEP Recycling Dividends Program. Composting demonstration. Ms. Smith will be holding a composting demonstration at the Jacobs Edwards Library on September 19, 2022 at 10 a.m. I think that's an error because I'll have to double check. It might be October 19. And then curbside yard waste collection will run from October 17, 2022 to November 25, 2022. The yard waste drop-off at DPW Yard 85 Gulfwood Road will remain open until November 25, 2022. Commercial yard waste will not be accepted. As I said the other week, we did receive, since we last met, the technical assistance grant, so that we'll receive 80 hours of consulting services from Mass DEP to examine the pay-as-you-throw. And as a result of the initial meeting that I had with Irene Congdon of Mass DEP and Anna Smith last week, where we went over a little bit about what we're doing with the RFP for the trash haulers, we did talk a little bit about what needs to happen going forward with the pay-as-you-throw and her work for the town. And she indicated that we will need to have some type of solid waste advisory committee. She was under the impression we still had the curbside advisory committee, and I had said at the time, to the best of my knowledge, the original vote had indicated that it was to disband by 2020. She then suggested strongly that we reestablish that committee, to the extent we can, or to the extent possible, with the same composition so that we can move forward with relative ease and quickness, as they will need to be in place to help with the discussion of whether we're funding this through taxes, fees, or pay-as-you-throw by bag and tag. And also, she's recommending that we conduct a townwide survey. So she wanted us to resurrect or reestablish the committee with the addition of 2 additional people, preferably someone who is a landlord and somebody who is also a member of our senior community. So as part of my announcements, I am asking this evening that the council would suspend the rules in the interest of time, given our timeline with the technical assistance grant, as well as the timeline we're facing for the end of our existing curbside collection that we've gained through the dissolution of our agreement with Casella. And essentially, using the same vote that was done back in 2019, that the council would vote to reestablish a curbside advisory committee to the town council in accordance with Chapter 2, Section 4.4 of the town council. The committee will consist of 9 members. So what you have before you is that same motion from 2019, but I've highlighted and bolded the words that we've changed. So 9 members, which will include 2 counselors appointed by the council chair, 1 acting as chairperson, the director of health, because we do not have a director of inspectional services anymore, 1 member from the Board of Health, of whom shall be appointed by the Board of Health to serve as their representative, and 5 citizens recommended by the curbside committee chair, subject to the confirmation by the town council. This advisory committee will periodically update the town council and be in effect till June 30th of 2024. And again, the end date was recommended by Ms. Congdon because she said there may be questions as we go through the cutover process in March, April of 2024.
So moved.
You're voting to...
Second.
Okay, so we have a vote to suspend the rules. Any discussion on the vote to suspend? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Very good. Let's create an agenda item number 9A. If someone would like to make the motion.
So moved. You want me to read it again? He just read it. I can read it again if you want, but
Please, read
All
it
right,
into,
okay.
yeah, read it for the
I'd like
record.
to make a motion to vote to approve the reestablishment of a curbside advisory committee to the town council in accordance with Chapter 2, Section 4-4 of the town charter. Committee will consist of 9 members, which will include 2 counselors appointed by the council chair, 1 acting as chairperson. Director of health, 1 member of the Board of Health, of whom shall be appointed by the Board of Health to serve as their representative, and 5 citizens recommended by the curbside committee chair, subject to the confirmation by the town council. This advisory committee will periodically update the town council and will be in effect until June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Very good. Do we have a motion and a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Very good.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my announcements for the moment.
Very good. I'm making an appeal to the citizens of town to consider being members of this council, this council, obviously, for the election next June, but for the committee as it is right now. Please, if you're interested in serving on this committee, contact the town manager, and the town manager will let people know of your interest. We are looking for a landlord, we are looking for a senior citizen, we are looking for 3 other citizens as well. And I'll be making the 2 council appointments for the next meeting. Okay? Very good. Item number 8, presentations. We have a special guest tonight. We have Senator Fatman regarding recent grants secured for the town of Southbridge. Senator.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen of the council and to the community of Southbridge. Thank you for having me here tonight. I want to first by thanking Mr. McCall, the town manager, for the relationship we've developed over the course of the last several years. He and I have had a really wonderful working relationship, which is why I'm here this evening. We've both kind of cut our teeth in local government. I was in the select board and sat similarly in a seat that you sit in, and I know how difficult it can be to find local funding and grants for various projects. I had given a commitment to Mr. McCall that if I could be helpful in any capital projects or perhaps programmatic, that I would be, if nothing else, willing to listen and hopefully able to deliver. Tonight is about a little delivery that Representative Peter Durant and I worked on. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here this evening. He had something pop up, but in the FY23 budget, Mr. McCall had told us that there was a problem over at the Grove Street School with asbestos removal, and we were able to secure the $65,000 that was needed in order to clean that up through the Department of Environmental Protection, so that it doesn't have to come out of the town's coffers. We also had some success in some other endeavors for the veterans the year previous. I know that the HVAC system had gone down at the police station. We were able to secure some money for that as well. But I wanted to, make this announcement tonight, thank the town manager and all of your support for helping us get that through the legislative process. And if that money hasn't been received yet in the town's coffers, it's probably going to come within the next 2 weeks, which is fantastic, and then we can get things reimbursed and underway. So just a very brief update on that. Happy to help in the future, and we do have a ceremonial check that we're happy to present to the town of Southbridge and through the town manager, if that sees fit through the council.
Come over.
Freaking check is bigger than the town manager.
Chairman gets
If I may, Mr. Chairman, while I'm here at the podium, I do want to thank Senator Fatman and Representative Durant for the relationship we've had. Not only has it been for these endeavors, whenever we have an issue, I reach out to both of them. They've been instrumental in helping us get the 7 liquor licenses. Anytime there's been a problem along the way, I've been able to call Senator Fatman, Representative Durant, their staff. They've always been very good. And as was alluded last year when I needed help, we went to them for the HVAC system at the police department. I know he's been helping the Veterans Council. He's helped here when I said we had the problem with the asbestos at the Cole School. There have been other times when I've called them, even when we were working with the RMV. So it's been a great relationship. I look forward to working forward with them. The only difficulty I ever have is every time I'm in a photo op with a politician from the state, Charlie Baker, is the senator, they're always taller than me. The only person I love to be in a photo with is the lieutenant governor because she makes me look a little bit taller. But it's been a great relationship, and I'm glad that he could come here this evening to present this to us, and I think he's been a great friend, and so has Representative Durant to the citizens of Southbridge. Thank you again, Senator.
And one last thing, it's a public service announcement. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I've wanted to say it my whole life. If your license plate is 468XA3, your lights are on. Would hate you to, it's a Ford F-150, I think. So I was walking in and I saw the lights on. Don't want to have a situation when you get out of the building here tonight. Thanks so much.
Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to say that's, I believe, my truck. It's an F-250. It will shut off the lights by itself down the road, but I appreciate it, Senator. Thank you. On the Veterans Council side, though I'll be briefing it on November 7th Town Council meeting, we thank you from the veterans for our initiative. We really do appreciate it. I did send an invite for the Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th to you today, and we'd like to be able to do that there as well, if possible, but we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Senator Fatman, thank you very much. I appreciate the help that you are providing with Southbridge. I just have one question. Is there anything that can be done to help support our fire station needs?
I was actually going to mention that. The last time Mr. McCall and I were together was actually at the Legislative District 7 Firefighters Breakfast, and Chief Normandin was there as well. Every time I see them, they mention something to this effect to me, and it's because of their great advocacy. We are looking at, there's a piece of legislation that I've co-sponsored with Michael Moore, the state senator from Millbury, which would develop a public safety system that would invest in buildings, similar to like the MSBA school system, where the community is on the hook for a portion based on a formula that the state has and the state picks up the rest. When you're talking about 100-year-old buildings that serve the public safety needs of a town that cost multi-million dollars, the state has to step up. It's probably the largest failure that I think that the state has undertaken and hasn't done anything. I am very hopeful. At that breakfast, Kate Hogan, who is the House Speaker Pro Tem, she's the highest ranking woman in state politics in the House, made a commitment to try to get something done on that issue in 2023. And as far as I'm concerned, if you've been going through the process, you should be able to apply even if you're underway. So that's something we're hopeful for. The second thing is there's money available. Mr. McCall and I were talking a little bit about some of the cost projections. And, we have still $2.8 billion in the federal ARPA money left over at the state. And so my hope is that I'll be able to utilize some of that to help the town of Southbridge with, its endeavor with this fire station.
All right, thank you, Senator Fabman. How much did you say was in the ARPA funds? I'm sorry.
2.8 billion.
Billion?
Yeah, B
Okay.
with the
All right.
with the B. It's a lot of money.
So I just want to say that we have heard a lot in the last couple of years, a lot of, we're going to do something, and I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying we've heard a lot from politicians that we're going to help you, but we still have not seen the funds. So I'm hoping that you and Representative Durant, please reach out to Congressman Neal. I know you're not of the same party, but at this point, we need help from, it doesn't matter to me what party helps us as long as we get the help, because clearly the residents of Southbridge cannot pick up that tab at this time. That's a lot of money for this community to handle. So I appreciate everything you've done, and please keep at it and don't let us down on this, all right? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the comment.
Council Lazo.
Absolutely.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for what you delivered already. As far as the discussion on the money from the state as far as our fire station, if you could get that legislation through, I was very proud of the town of Southbridge. I was on a building committee for the new high school. We got 87% funded, and it was based on need. Yeah, and I know that I know Mike Moore very well. I think you're teaming up with the right guy to get the legislation through. I wish you the best of luck. Anything we can do to help out from the citizens end will be there. I mean, the fire stations across the state, a lot of them need to be done, police stations, and I think by the House and the Senate addressing that statewide, it's only going to be an asset to the rest of the Commonwealth. I know it worked very well for schools for the towns that could not do it. We got it done. And I think that with your leadership and your support, if you and Michael Moore can get that done, I think that would be real big, not only for Southbridge, but for the whole state. Thank you very much for your service.
Yeah, thank you for the comments. And I would just say, too, it's not lost on me that Southbridge isn't the only community in this situation. I haven't picked up a few other new towns due to redistricting, Munson, Holland, Wales, Charlton, all of which are in need of a fire station or at least an improvement. Brimfield just built, a state-of-the-art public safety facility. They did it on their own, but it's not near the amount of money that it costs you guys.
I like your bipartisan approach. There's not a lot of that around lately, but you and Michael Moore doing it together, I'm thoroughly impressed.
Oh, yeah, Mike's a good guy. We
Thank
get
you.
along well. Thank you.
Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. First of all, what bill number is this?
That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But it's been filed for now 3 consecutive legislative sessions. And there's actually like 70 different versions of it. Mike's the one that I like the most, and he's also from Central Mass. So we have a very similar idea and understanding of what the needs are. But Gus, I will make sure that we get that to you before the end of the day tomorrow. Okay. So you'll have the bill. There's also probably about, like I said, 70 other bills that are very similar. Okay. And to Michael's point earlier, you know, it took the MSBA, School Funding Authority, about 7.5 years in concept to come into law. So we're going to be entering year 7 of having these bills be filed, and I'm very hopeful for 2023 that we'll get it done.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had is there anything similar that's working its way through the legislature to deal with stormwater? Because that's going to be a huge cost coming down the pike in the near future, too.
Yeah, there have been some proposals. Right now, the best mechanism that people have is the SRF fund, which provides 0% interest loans. But as far as a mechanism to fund it, there's been a lot of conversation with the $2.8 billion remaining in ARPA, whether you create sort of a rotating basis for communities that are dealing with PFAS, stormwater, water infrastructure in general. As you're probably aware, you know, right over in the town of Dudley, they're spending $9 million to build a treatment center with regards to PFAS. It is serious money. Yeah. You know, Uxbridge is another town that I represent. They spent almost $40 million, and it fell all on the ratepayers, which is insane. It's bankrupting them. So it's not something that's lost on me, and we'll make sure we keep it in mind, especially since we have the money.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Senator, apologize for asking a second question on this, but I did talk to you the other day about the electrical costs that are going to skyrocket, if not already. I know you've mentioned a few things about what you guys are trying to do. Can you explain that further, or where it's at now?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough time come November for a lot of people. National Grid, which services this area, has already said that they're going to have a 65% rate increase in their utilities. What I would say is it's going to affect us all. I'm not looking forward to it for sure. But, you know, our phone number is 617-722-1420, 617-722-1420. There's many programs out there for assistance on utilities for those who are having difficulty paying for them, and we will be more than happy to connect them. One of my right-hand guys is here with me tonight who deals with a lot of constituents. His name is Bill Fredericks, always with a smile on his face, and, you know, can be more than helpful, and I will too. So it is a seasonal rate increase. You know, so back when we get to the spring, people will see some relief, but that doesn't help them during the winter, which is the most challenging time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate your being here this evening. Thank you for taking our questions. You know, these are issues that are near and dear to the hearts of the councilors and the citizens in town. So to take a few minutes to be with us is definitely appreciated. So thank you very much.
We'll make sure, with the council's permission, we try to do it on a more regular basis. You know, it's been a really strange 2.5 years, and it's in some ways prevented type of things like this from happening. But we'll look forward to being back, you know, early next year.
Great. Councilor Steves.
Thank you. It just occurred to me, kind of in relation to what we're talking about. Where do things stand as far as the proposal to create an infrastructure bank for more general, like road projects and these big building projects? Obviously, I don't know if your bill goes into more general infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Senator Eldridge was the individual who filed that. The bill, he filed it as a standalone bill, and he filed it as an amendment to the budget. He also filed it in the economic development bill. The economic development bill is the only bill in which that could be utilized to pass that bank. Right now, that bill did not get through the deadline of July 31st. It looks like the legislature is going to come back in sometime after the election to try to get the economic development bill done, of which there will be some money for the town of Southbridge in there. But as far as the legislation goes, that legislation, which went through Financial Services, a committee that I serve on, was sent to a study because it was the first time that it was filed. And it's unique in the country. There's no other state out of the 50 that have its own infrastructure type bank. And one of the thoughts has also been to utilize this to help the cannabis industry because federally you can't accept loans. It's federally illegal, as we know. So that's a brief update on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much for having us.
thank you. We have a second presentation scheduled for this evening by Mr. Mark Karen for a performance update.
Good evening. It's good to be with you again. In light of the Senator's long-windedness, I'll be brief.
Doubt it.
No, but I'm here just to present an update of efforts. I know I was with you just a couple weeks ago, so there is kind of a truncated calendar by which I'm reporting on. But there's been very little physical movement of ins and outs as far as occupation and or vacancies created in the downtown. Actually, there has been none, which is, I guess on one hand, good to see you, always. Which is good in one respect, and obviously as far as our efforts go, we'd like to see more activity in the empty ones and maybe some change of hands in some of the ones that are occupied right now that are less than full and most valuable use. But those efforts are ongoing. I'm happy to report that conversations are more frequent and vibrant and robust with the property owners and the stakeholders in the downtown core. The phone is ringing, my phone actually is ringing often, and from property owner to property owner, there is a passing on of my contact to other property owners, and they're wishing to engage, which allows me the opportunity, us the opportunity, to further inform our efforts from both the public side and from a community side on what we're looking to see kind of rise up in the downtown area and what the public stake is in these developments. Again, not to be overly repetitive, but the Hamilton Street reconfiguration, and the maybe the biggest news, at least from me, or the one I'm excited most about, which I believe still shows great potential, is the development of the rail trail, which leads me to one of the other announcements here in what has taken place. We have started to reach out to dignitaries in putting together an event that actually informs, similar to it'll be nicer than his, but a check that was just awarded here tonight, but one that announces and informs the public the financing for the construction of the Quinebaug Valley Rail Trail. The timing right now looks to be between, hopefully, if there's multiple parties that we want to invite and be present if they so can be, looking in between Election Day and Thanksgiving. If that can't happen, then it'll be between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but that is going to take place. The backdrop for this is anticipated to be the backside of the 12 Crane Street building, which many may remember, but it's been a long time, it's like 20 years ago, but when we announced the acquisition of that line, it was one of the first private investments that happened because of that news, and that was taking the old, it was a dog food processing plant, and then a parts distributorship, and revive that into this performance hall, bakery, apartments, and everything else. And hopefully at that meeting or before, there'll be another major announcement in that area as well. What was vibrant there some time ago has gone through a dip as, we ride the times, the ebbs and the flows. We're looking to, and I'm anticipating soon, an announcement of increased activity down there, which I think will be welcomed by many. I have also continued to assist in the slum blight surveys, which is incredibly valuable, even on my side, in bringing that in. I think I mentioned that we we had scheduled a meeting with Quinsigamond Community College, which was which was a meeting that was set up subsequent to a lunch that we had prior last month. That did take place, and it was a robust conversation with a willingness to open eyes and their tools and their assets into, they need our help too. We need their help, that's why they're there, and they want to enroll more students, and so they need to be a little more public and seen. They have a need, as they express, for some areas of student study areas, which they can also kind of have access to some of the online, maybe some online terminals, some lounging and some discussion groups, but also just so that they can create an environment by which they're kind of hanging out, hopefully spending money, and we would also be able to encourage their spending and commerce and hopefully their ideas of entrepreneurship. So that is ongoing. I have been invited to look at a couple of their outlet or annex offerings in Worcester, and I'll be setting that schedule up. We're still waiting on word. I did announce that we're part of, or we supported a community, Central South America's writing for a program. That announcement hasn't come through, whether we were successful or not, but if that does come through, we'll I'll obviously bring that in. I will be addressing the Women's Club this Friday. That is part of the effort to raise our image with our community, but then also to bring forth information on this town's efforts to lift it up so that can kind of be gossiped out into a larger community as well. We have had some, and I also have a meeting scheduled with our regional director of USDA, Lyndon Nichols, is coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking about where they may be able to play a part in our further development, acquisition, and build out. And there's a meeting coming up. There's a gentleman, and this comes out of a meeting earlier in the month, 2 months ago, with a colleague, Matt Barron, who had come out from the Berkshires and in that area to bring the agricultural, which I just left, the agricultural committee. There is a wish for them to engage further. They would like to energize. They would like to be of greater purpose, and they are not frustrated, but they are in need of a marketplace. Our downtown is looking to provide itself or show itself a use. I believe there's some conversation that can happen there. And then in the office, we have also started talking about and strategizing maybe some ways of engaging community development corporations in with our wants and as a link between both private and public wants to develop the commercial center. So that's about what I have here, and happy to answer any questions. Now, I'm sorry too, the other thing is, please look in your emails. I have a couple articles that had come through. They're nice case studies of communities out in the Midwest, but they tend to mirror our situation right now, and they do articulate some successes that they have had. And just so that maybe in future conversations that you have with us and me and or our department, that the values that maybe those steps that we might be able to replicate. And that comes off my comment with as we are talking about further engaging and or utilizing community development corporations. Thank you.
Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So how are we doing with bringing new businesses to downtown? For instance, the old, the bank down there, on the corner of Everett and Main Street. That's been sitting empty for quite a while. Has there been any interest in opening up?
We had some showings of that property. It is being held privately, as you know. Again, there's a market that has to be shown and it has to be sought after. Right now, from a commercial and we have our work to do. There is some interest, and there's been some investment interest. We are looking for occupants. People are holding assets right now, and in our economic demographics, we don't show a very robust commercial attractiveness. It's our efforts in much of what I just spoke about and what we're trying to get out, informing individuals, both investors, stakeholders currently, and residents of the public, your support and the stake that we are taking in the redevelopment, in the reconstruction, to make it a more walkable and shoppable downtown, and traverse with the trail, both from a visitor standpoint, attracting outside foot traffic in, and as that line also lends itself to be of service to our citizenry from one side of town to the other. So that is coming about. There are conversations. I do have 2 meetings come up. I have meetings with a few franchisees who are interested in maybe expanding, but they want to know where, how, and is putting them together with property owners right now, and that's been ongoing. That has been ongoing.
And then there's the property right on the corner of Central Street and Main Street, 111 Central Street.
Yes.
That's been in the works for quite a while.
Yes.
I've been inside there. He's doing a beautiful job. I'd just like to know what's going on with that
Yes.
one.
It's financial strengths right now. Timing. I shouldn't say, they're not in peril. It's timing. It's timing of some investment funds and paying of others, but it's ongoing. The sprinkler systems are scheduled to be, I think they're going to commence that service later on this month. When that happens, and we're anticipating there's a couple new occupants there who have signed leases. They would like to open up earlier than later. A push would be for November 1st. That doesn't look likely because of the infrastructure needs, the sprinkler system. More likely the first of the year.
Is there any chance of connecting him with Quinsigamond? Because it seems to me that would be a good place. You were talking earlier about a place for them to
Sure.
set up some, what are you calling it, cubicles or?
Yep. The caveat with Quinsig was they didn't want to pay anything, so that might not be as attractive to the property owner. But
They don't want to pay anything?
I'm kidding. Ish. But they need it to be affordable.
All right.
They would like to think that they are bringing a market into an area.
Well, then that's where you can look for grants to help supplement the rent, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And there are other property owners who may be in a different position than
All right.
the one we're speaking of.
And
But
then
those conversations are ongoing. They're just,
All right.
they're,
And then there's a property where the fire was that is still empty. It's been empty for 2016, I believe, when that fire happened. And just like to know if anything is going on with that property.
forgive me. Are you
It's
talking
the
about the empty lot?
In the empty lot on Main Street.
That's already spoken for with plans for construction.
And is there an update on that, when that might begin?
Infrastructure, the town manager is probably better versed to address the infrastructure that is holding that up. It's more of a national grid deal.
Okay.
Those stakeholders have been wonderful working together in recognizing, hey, listen, if there's no sense in us going for it now, you going for it later, and having to rip up sidewalks or public areas twice. So they have been coordinating their efforts in that regard. But that is part of, and again, I'm being very general because I don't have the exact specifics, but that is in light what's holding some of that up. The Central Street Pizza is, we're all anticipating that, and I think, Councilor Lazo knows a little of that project and has been helpful in kind of shepherding some of those issues along, but that's going to be a wonderful piece, too.
All right, thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you, Councilor.
Very good. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also, I think a new business is going to be ongoing, used to be Old Mario's.
Speak to the microphone, please. Councilor?
Margos?
Yeah, Old Mario's is going to be
There's some movement down there right now at
correct,
Margot's
new
Deli.
business coming in, I think some kind of grill and chicken, something like that. Pretty
I haven't
soon.
spoken to her, but I did
Pretty
see some
soon it's
movement
gonna be
down there on
open,
that property,
so,
yeah.
thank
Yes, thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
Not so much any questions as much as a statement. I know that the previous speaker has asked many questions about many buildings. I think when you look at any type of community, you look at the studies that are done. I remember a few years back we made a big push to get a Home Depot in Southbridge. Once they do the study and they figure out the income bracket of the town and the traffic in the town and the road access in the town, Home Depot didn't come here. They ended up in Oxford. And we had some heavyweight investors from Southbridge that were pushing for it. One of our students that graduated from Southbridge High was in top management of Home Depot at the time, and we thought we could have swung something like that, but it didn't materialize. A lot of our money people have moved on to Sturbridge and Charlton. I think when you look at the economics of Southbridge, businesses ask themselves, what will survive in Southbridge? How they come up with that answer is through the studies and the workings of the economic development. I'm not sure that we would hit a manufacturing company coming in, manufacturing something, without a facility, without road access, without investment by the community. So moving forward, I know that a lot of the grant writing, a lot of the rail trail, I mean, when we saved the registry of motor vehicles, and I tip my hat to the manager on this, because it wasn't coming back. And through economic development and the town manager and council, that the registry was going to remain. It remaining there, although it's not a manufacturing company, it created a destination for people to come and use its services. We've moved from manufacturing to services. And depending on what services you have, you become a magnet for certain sectors. And that's why when we turn around and we see we need services, do we need the registry of motor vehicles? I thought that was a good grab. We have business, we have a piece of rent coming in, and we provide a service not only for Southbridge, but for South Central. Moving forward, if you want to do social services, you will attract people that need social services. So, I mean, moving forward, we've always said business. We have 7 liquor licenses coming in. We have a place on Central Street. He put $1 million into that building. I'm sure he would be interested in a liquor license. You have a man, a local guy that invested that type of money into Central Pizza. He should be handed a liquor license. Not to wait for somebody from out of town to fly into town, ride in on a white horse, and save Southbridge. The only people who are going to save Southbridge is Southbridge. And I think we have to get behind the locals, support them, and I'm all in favor of the economic development of the downtown area. It's how we get there is where the discussion takes place. A lot of your questions are good, pointed questions. We can sit here and talk and talk and talk. When we don't see businesses in the credit union, or we don't see businesses moving into, these are viable buildings, especially the Santandy building. Full-blown parking area in a building right on Main Street. What a beautiful place for a business. What business wants to move there? It all depends on the economics of Southbridge. What we attract is what we are. So moving forward, we've been trying to move out of the low-income service business, okay? I would rather think that we could move into the ice cream stand being built, the restaurants opening up on Main Street. These businesses are sustained not by welfare. It's sustained by money. People that pull it out of their pockets and they go to dinner. The Fins and Tails, the Golden Greek restaurant, family-run businesses survive in Southbridge. Mario's restaurant would have never closed up if the owner didn't pass away. But again, you don't see franchises come here. The first time I ever saw a Burger King go out of business, a Kentucky Fried Chicken, it's the demographic, it's the income bracket we're catering to. That's why we need a balance. Everybody has low income. You have mod and you have high income. Our high income people moved out of town. And this is where we have to work with it. We want to keep our historical values of our town. We want to keep Southbridge on who Southbridge really is. We're a caring town and very generous. But don't fool yourself if a business is not going to move here because the 25 questions of their franchise, why should we move there? Well, you have to meet the road criteria, this criteria, that criteria. Yeah, we have sewer, we have water, we have a lot of things going for ourselves. We need to sell our positive points and move forward with it. But Mark, I know that you're going to be here having a presentation every so often. I've been in Southbridge a long time. I built a few businesses here, and I know what it takes to do, and I think that we have a tough road ahead, but not an impossible task.
Correct.
And
Thank
I
you.
think we have to work together to accomplish that. These tough questions need to be asked because these vacant buildings need to be filled.
No, and they're welcomed, and they're needed, and it's all part of the conversation that'll get us to success. Your comments are on point, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but on my initial conversations, I think upon the appointment of this position, was we do have to pay attention to the social soil if we are to build a robust commercial center. And there are councilors here, and there are members of this all of you are interested, but people have different degrees of interest and vested commitments, and home ownership, and raising income levels, and job skill acquisition is all part of it. It is ongoing. There is an effort going on, and not to say that people are very surprised that there is a mouthpiece saying these things, because it wasn't being said before. And it's in body of me. It could be anybody in this spot if it shows, and maybe they're better mouthpieces. But the fact that they are being pursued by this town in the body here that you have chosen is welcomed, and they feel like they're being listened to. One, I can listen, and two, that some of their issues are being conveyed back, and we are making some changes. There are some cultural issues, I think, with the workings and what they perceive as the reception they get when they come in here, whether it be for inspection and for permits or whatever. We're changing it. It's not going to change in a day. We walk 10 miles into the forest. It is going to be a 10-mile walk back out, but hopefully we can do it with a faster pace.
Just in closing, I supported the AO development, and I supported the Wells development. But remember, depending on who moves in, that's who's going to spend their money in the town of Southbridge. And that's where I'm not sure housing is the answer. I actually like the refurbishing of the building on the road fronts. That's why I was in favor of it. But to, in the future, when they turn around and say, I want to make more apartments in the back, I have a very strong disagreement that that's not the answer to our economic development. Our economic development is commerce, it's business. We need to shift to put the balance back in Southbridge. There's an imbalance right now, and it was created by home ownership, business moving out. We need to move it back in, and we need the balance. Let's keep working on it.
There needs to be investment in our housing stock. I agree. In fact, and I'm sorry, it was on my list and I just read past it. But those meetings that I had mentioned in the last presentation with stakeholders, and then the separate one for realtors and brokers, is going to take place, and there is a place for it. And it's not going to be a surprise, but it should be mentioned because it's worthy of mention for their continued support for the goings-on in town. It'll be held at the Southbridge Conference and Hotel and Conference Center. We'll finalize a date as this event comes in, but it'll be towards the end of January, beginning of February, so somewhere in those 4 weeks. We'll have the years then, going towards year end, and you know how things go, especially with finances and closing up records, and I won't have their attention. But we'll put together an agenda. But they're wonderfully receptive to the idea of hosting these two meetings. Thanks.
Councilor Rivas.
Thank you for giving us that update. And I just want to say, I know that there are always a lot of questions. But it didn't take us like a minute to get into this spot, so it is going to take us a little bit of time to get where we want to go. And I do think that the efforts of the Economic Development Department, as well as Mark's efforts, are moving us in the right direction. You don't change that perception so easily. I also want to warn us to not demonize our low-income, residents. They eat as well.
Sure.
And when I was low-income, I ate at restaurants as well. So, let's respect all of our residents, and there does need to be a balance. And I do think that working together, we're headed in that direction where we're going to create and we're going to attract the right businesses for our community that is going to move us forward.
Agreed.
you.
Our citizenry is our citizenry, and we want to uplift them. And I think I think that's how I got it, is that we're looking to do, both with home ownership programs and repairs and uplifting of our housing stock, so that we're living in conditions that are safe and clean and actually beautiful. And we can do that. We don't have to develop or live ugly.
Council Laszlo.
I don't mean to demonize our low income. I grew up in a three-decker with humble beginnings. I wasn't born with the silver spoon. I earned everything I got. It was the American way, it was capitalism, and I still believe in it. What I'm talking about is what you attract to your community. When you put a methadone clinic in, what do you attract? High-end learners? Big money people? No. You get people from Worcester and Springfield that come in for our services. We have a Harrington Memorial Hospital, which is a town asset. People feel comfortable living close to the hospital. Depending on what you want to attract, when you put a business in, or I heard this past week they wanted to put a clubhouse for a motorcycle gang on Main Street. What do you think we are going to attract on Main Street? Somebody serving pizza? We need to pay attention to what we're putting in our town. I'm not demonizing anybody. The big white elephant in the room is the imbalance. Nobody wants to talk about the imbalance because don't touch the low income. Well, no, I don't mean to touch the low income. I need to build the middle and upper so it balances in Southbridge. Why do restaurants prosper in Sturbridge, but 1 mile down the road, we struggle? It's black and white, it's simple, it's economics, it's about the money, and we know that. We need to reinvent ourselves, we're doing it, let's move forward. But in no means am I trying to demonize anybody or any certain class. You get what you deserve in this world, and you earn what you have. Thank you.
Councilman Signy.
Thank you very much. I can remember back when I was the station manager for cable here, we used to have department head meetings, and the town manager at the time, Chris Clark, kind of had like an outing to go to Putnam, because Putnam is very similar to here in terms of trying to rebuild the old mill town sort of thing. And they're doing, very well, as you understand, I'm sure, over the last 10 years. But to the point of the economics and what you do to revitalize the town now, you take the community that you currently have and you try to add better things. And I can remember clear as day, the first thing they said in Putnam when Chris Clark basically asked, what do we do to get into a position like you are? Putnam said, well, first, you don't put Section 8 housing above all of your stores on Main Street. So I think that is where the formula for fixing the town isn't going to have, let's build more low-income housing. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I live in Southbridge 25 years. I own a few businesses in here. All the question came up, we need to promote and bring businesses to Southbridge. Southbridge, it's a beautiful town, and you can bring businesses, but it's limited on the spaces and what kind of businesses you're gonna bring. And those kind of businesses, you can't bring them overnight. I mean, Mr. Karen, he just came up a few months and he's doing his best, but we just got the 7 liquor license. And this, I think downtown, you need restaurant, you need places. That's what's gonna bring other businesses and another different, development, another look for the town of Southbridge. Town manager, we have him new. I know he's been here a couple of years. He was cleaning the mess before. As an experience, understand when I come to do businesses or build the businesses, it used to take me 1 year to review my blueprint to be able to build the businesses. Right now, it's a time. I think people, they're focused on, people like to do business in town. They help them out with the new town manager and his teams. Mr. Karen, he's doing his best to bring the right people to town. We can't just saying, oh, we need a businesses. You got to look what kind and what we can offer him to come in town. And now I think we have 7. when we get them in hand, I think we should be able to see a few changes in town, and then you can ask in the future what we will have for changes, more different businesses. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. I think conversation has been good. I think it's direct. I think that that councils have had a chance to express themselves. Mr. Manager?
Not to belabor the point, but I think one of the things that it's been touched on is how do you attract those businesses? And I think together, all of us in this room and the people in the audience and the people and the citizens at home that have voted on various initiatives in the last couple of years, we're planting the seeds for that change. When you, as the councilor talked about, bringing back the RMV, investing in the parking lots, the streets, the pavement management, the rail trail, looking at the fire station, these are things that the businesses that Ms. Dean, Mr. Rumsey, Mr. Karen, and I have been meeting with in Worcester and here, those things are exciting them, and the liquor licenses. So there's a groundswell that happens over time. You know, it's just like you plant the seed, you water it, over time it'll grow. And so we're building that environment, as Councilor Dow said, and that attracts people. And then it's changing the attitudes of the various landlords to see and share the same vision so that they want to try and entice new businesses or make those improvements. And we're trying to look at ways to help them get money through these opportunity zones or other funding that's out there to help them help themselves so that we can all grow and be in a better place. So we're all working along those same lines. We share the same thoughts and concerns that the councilors here. And so I think together we're making a lot of progress.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager.
Very good.
Appreciate that.
All set?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Let's move on, please, to agenda item number 9, Citizens Forum. Are there any citizens that would like to approach the podium this evening to discuss an issue not on tonight's agenda?
Donald Solinsky, Henry Street. Mr. McCall, the last town council meeting, you brought up a new version of your story, and that was that Mr. Christian was issued a ticket. This is the first time we're hearing about a ticket. Will you provide me a copy of that ticket, please? And speaking of tickets, why was I not issued a ticket? Why was I not arrested? I was the one accused of breaking the law. Why? Because then you would have to get an unbiased court involved, and that is the last thing you want to happen. Any court overseeing this mess that you all created would be appalled. You also said Mr. Christian asked for a hearing. Just to clarify, he did not ask for a hearing. He was told by the chief and the ACO he had to have a hearing in order to get his dog back. Mr. McCall, you now are saying the town has a lot of latitude in these cases. We all know it's not standard practice to take a dog because he is unlicensed. So let us understand, the town took the dog with one-sided evidence that I was the owner. When the owner and the owner's mother immediately went to the ACO and the chief with evidence of ownership, they were both ignored, and the town's latitude allowed the dog to sit in a kennel for a month. And it seems only because of the relationship of Mr. Pulaski with the town officials did the town accept the truth and then begin to try to figure out some process of returning the dog to Mr. Christian. Now, because of your so-called latitude, instead of being out in fresh air, exercised and socialized, Rocco is stuck alone in an apartment regularly for long hours while Mr. Christian works long shifts. And your so-called latitude, your problem-solving solution, was to think it was the best interest, as you put it, to not allow me to care for the dog's needs while his owner was working. Because, Mr. McCall and councilors, God forbid I should offer dog care services to someone else's dog. That would be a real threat to the community, huh? I'm such a criminal. God forbid I should choose to share my joy on Facebook that I have a new friend and he saved my life after losing my prior dog. God forbid I bring the dog to the vet one time for the owner, or else he would be dead. He was lame and had Lyme disease, and as a result, I inadvertently named as the owner. Think about it. If I was truly trying to pull something off, do you think I'd be putting my name down as the owner? I don't think so. Why would the ACO and her boss, the chief, go to such extremes and recommend I not be allowed to have any contact with the dog when it was finally determined I was never the dog's owner? Where is the sanity in that? Where is the decency? Did you ever ask them, Mr. McCall? That's your job as a town manager, to approach the chief and the ACO and ask them these questions. But did you ever think about it yourself and ask, is this now becoming a personal vendetta against me? You choose to follow the recommendations by the chief and the ACO instead of being a town manager, instead of being a problem solver and finding better solutions for the community, for Rocco, for Mr. Christian, and for me. Once again, the town chose to use a dog as a pawn, this time to get Mr. Christian to agree to not have me interact with his dog, when in fact he would love me to walk his dog while he's at work. But his choice was to agree to that or lose his dog. This is your decision based on so-called latitude? Such poor problem-solving ability that you ultimately lead to bullying me simply because I keep challenging the poor decisions of this town and its latitude. The Southbridge residents know that if they make too many waves, they will pay a price. And it is affirmed at every time I talk at this meeting. This showcases their fears are not unfounded. You should all be so proud of yourselves. And let me just say, I contacted the Attorney General's office, and they said they would get back to me in a week. And if I don't hear back from them, I'm going to file a civil rights complaint against the chief of police, the ACO, the town manager, and the town of Southbridge. And if that doesn't get...
Mr. Zelinski,
Well, let me just...
your time has expired.
10 more seconds. And if that doesn't work out, you know, they got a new thing called YouTube where you can learn to file a lawsuit. So I will file a lawsuit
That's been
against the
10
town.
seconds, Mr. Zelinski. Thank you. Are there any other citizens that would like to approach the podium this evening to talk about an issue not on tonight's agenda? Very good. Moving along. Item number 10, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of Benjamin Doros as maintenance man equipment operator for the town of Southbridge DPW pending the successful completion of pre-employment physical and background screening.
So move.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, this was approved at the DPW subcommittee meeting by a 4-0 vote.
Any discussion?
Just would like to,
Councilor Marquetti.
I would just like to say that Mr. Doris was recommended by several members of the committee, outstanding maintenance man who's worked in several businesses in town. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I know Ben personally, and I do highly recommend for this position. We look forward to you working for the town, and you should work for the town, and we really appreciate your time and energy coming back over here. I know you applied once before, and I appreciate you moving forward and consistently trying to get that position, so thank you. And look forward to seeing you out there. Thanks.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Congratulations, Mr. Doros. Item number 11, vote to approve the purchase of an HP Design Jet T2600DR from CDW-G for $14,395.50 from the state bid list contract number ITC 73 with funds from DPW, $4,395.50 from small capital, account number 001-499-583000. Water, $5,000 from maintenance and operating, account number 610-450-520100. and sewer, $5,000 from maintenance and operating, account number 600-440-520100, and authorize the town manager to sign related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, this was approved at the DPW subcommittee meeting by a 4-0 vote.
Very good. Any further discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
We did have further discussion about this purchase. Apparently, the printer that they have now has gone out down, and it's getting old, and they're unable to replace it. This is used for printing out blueprints and other material for residents. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 12, vote to confirm the town manager's appointment of VHB and Ty and Bond as interim engineers for on-call services. Entertain a motion to recommend, Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for confirmation and authorize the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, we voted to postpone this at the October 11th meeting till tonight. Tonight, we postponed it again. I think Councilor Lazo wanted to make a motion.
Very good, Councilor Lazo.
Chairman, I make a motion that we postpone till the next meeting.
That would be November 7th, I believe.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to postpone. Councilor Adams.
To recommend it go back to the DPW subcommittee.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes,
We have an
we'll
amendment.
have a meeting before the next meeting, the council meeting. Yep.
All right, we have an amendment to the motion to postpone.
Yep.
Any discussion on the amendment to postpone? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Very good. The motion as stated is to postpone and refer back to subcommittee. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous, all present. Motion is postponed and referred back to committee. Item number 13, vote to accept up to 100 trees from the USDA Forest Service Cooperative Forestry Agent Assistance Program administered by Opakam Land Trust to be planted on the town of Southbridge municipality property.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I was approached to bring this forward to the town council because planning and development wasn't having a meeting. And this is, I believe, something very simple. We accepted this grant a few years back for up to 1,000 trees from U.S. Forest Service. We've accepted them to bring them into the town. Now, as it's going along, Mr. Brady is also here if you have any questions. But we also, at this point in time, every time they come up with a plan, they filter that plan. It comes back to the town council or a subcommittee, then the town council, and he is asking at this point in time up to 100 trees to be planted in certain areas that you all have in your packets. I mean, obviously, I think this is a great thing for the town because there's a lot of areas that are missing those, the vegetation and the trees and stuff like that. And I think it's something that we should take advantage of, especially if we are receiving 1,000 trees. That's a lot of money that we don't want to waste. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're receiving 100 trees or 1,000 trees?
Okay, so we originally accepted up to 1,000 trees from the U.S. Forest Service. So now at this point in time, they're doing it individually as it's coming along, private owners, municipality areas and stuff like that. So when it comes to municipality, the public property, we have to accept each time they come through us. So it could be 100, the next time it could be 40. It all depends on their plan of attack.
And do we need any more trees on Main Street? It seems like we have trees all up and down Main Street. Do we need more trees on Main Street?
Please. Thank you.
The trees that are on Main Street are basically replacing trees that have come down over the past 10 years. There's a constant replanting of trees on municipal property, and The Main Street trees are just replacing ones that have already been there. There are empty tree pits, there are spaces in the tree lawn on Lower Main Street that needs trees. Also, we're looking at Marcy Street. We're looking at Central Street where there are some empty tree pits. These are just basically replacements.
And the trees at Elm Park, we have a lot of trees there.
Right.
Again,
so-
you're going to be,
So Elm Park is an interesting project because Councilor Adams is in charge of doing the Veterans Council the park redesign. So we're looking to plant some trees kind of near the monument, and on each side, there's space for trees right along the fire department building, and there's a space for trees on the south side, but in the back, there's still plenty of tall trees. It's more of aesthetics. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I just want to add in there, Mr. Brady is correct. Something that we approached him with, or actually we had a nice, great conversation about this. Some of those trees in the back, we are actually having a arborist come down and take a look at those trees because some of them may be dying, dead, diseased, and all that kind of stuff. So we want to replace a lot of that stuff if we have to.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Hi, I was part of actually the original steering committee, and I think a few of us up here were. My question is, are these 100 trees in the zones that were designated, that were high-risk areas?
Right. So this is a little bit of clarification on the program itself. There are up to 1,000 trees. It's both private and public. It doesn't matter, as long as the economic zone is applicable to accept the trees. The trees that are going to the municipal sites are part of that 100 trees. We may put another request for more in a year or so, but that's what we have right now. Private residents are free to visit the Opakam Land Trust website. They could find that through Google, and they can apply for trees as well. So, there's still plenty of trees to be given out. It's not just 100. The 100 is just for municipal property, just along the streets, and we also had 3 arborists that actually went through the town. We marked the spots where they're going, some of the replacement spots, and we've chosen the proper trees for the proper sites. So a lot of work has gone through that. And also, we've had the DPW go through with us on those sites as well. So that's just the municipal side that this gift is about.
And Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. I know that in the past on Main Street, the tree plots are so small there that sometimes they can lift the sidewalks up over time and then, I don't know, just cover the facade of the businesses there. I definitely want the trees. I'm just kind of thinking we could spruce Main Street up without them in certain areas because it might cause more problems than good.
You're absolutely right. And we've been very careful in the selection of the varieties of trees, especially on the core downtown where they have those small pits. We're looking at trees that won't cover the signboards for businesses. So if you know, some of the trees in downtown are ginkgos, and ginkgo's a perfect example of a tall tree, doesn't block the signage, and those are the types of trees we're looking to put down there, along with Gladyssia, which is a honey locust. That's another tall-grown tree, small leaves, an open canopy so that you could actually see signboards and not block businesses.
Okay.
And they're not messy trees. The ginkgos could be females and have fruit, but we're all male ginkgos in downtown.
Well, thank you for taking that into consideration. Sounds like you're aware. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 14 is a report from Councilor Ryan on subcommittee rules and regulations to discuss and take any action thereof. I'd like a motion to postpone this, please, until November 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 15, amendments to Southbridge bylaw by adding section 9-203.1, wetland protection and conservation, and vote to adopt said bylaw as amended. Third reading is this evening. Let's start with Councilor Marquetti.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proposed amendment to Southbridge Code of Bylaws, Wetland Protection and Conservation, 9-203.1 purpose. Purpose of this bylaw is to protect the floodplains, wetlands, and related water resources, riverfront areas, and adjoining upland areas in the town of Southbridge by prior review and controlling activities deemed by the Southbridge Conservation Commission hereinafter the Commission likely to have a significant or cumulative effect upon wetland or resource area values, including but not limited to the following: public or private water supply, groundwater, water quality, flood control, sedimentation and erosion control, storm damage prevention and flowage, water pollution control, wildlife and wildlife habitats, fisheries, shell fisheries, rare plant and animal species, agriculture, and recreation values deemed important to the community collectively, the resource area values protected by this bylaw. This bylaw is intended to utilize the Home Rule Authority, the town of Southbridge, so as to protect the resource areas under the Wetlands Protection Acts. Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, hereinafter the Act, as amended from time to time, to a greater degree to protect additional resource areas beyond the Act recognized by the town as significant, protect all resource areas for their additional values beyond those recognized in the Act, and to impose a local regulation and permits additional standards and procedures stricter than those of the Act and regulations thereunder. 310 CMR 10.00 as amended from time to time, subject, however, to the rights and benefits accorded to agricultural uses and structures of all kinds of the laws of the Commonwealth and other relevant bylaws of the town of Southbridge. Unless otherwise indicated in this bylaw and these regulations, definitions, timeframes, forms, and procedures shall be the same as stated in the Act. With regard local commission identification, notification, and documentation, the commission, its agents, officers, and employees shall, within 24 hours notice to the property owner, except in the event of an emergency, have the authority to enter upon privately owned land for the purpose of performing their duties under this bylaw, and may make or cause to be made such examinations, surveys, or samplings as the Commission deems necessary, subject to the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Commonwealth, so long as the property owner consents to the entry or an administrative search warrant is issued by a court. See Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended. 9-203.2, jurisdiction, except as permitted by the Commission or as otherwise provided by this bylaw. No person shall commence to remove, fill, dredge, degrade, discharge into, alter, or build upon the following resource areas: freshwater wetlands, marshes, wet meadows, bogs, swamps, vernal pools, banks, reservoirs, lakes, ponds of any size, lands under water bodies, lands subject to flooding or inundation by groundwater or surface water, any land bordering thereon. Bordering in this context shall mean either the greater of the following: A, 100 feet horizontally perpendicular to the bank of any freshwater wetland, marsh, wet meadow, bog, swamp, vernal pool, inclusive of uncertified vernal pool, bank, reservoir, lake, and pond. B, 100 feet horizontally perpendicular to the water elevation of the 100-year storm. C, 200 feet horizontally perpendicular to the mean annual high water elevation of any stream, perennial or intermittent, or river. In addition to, it is the policy of the Commission to advise applicants on these non-regulated wetland resource areas. D, intermittent streams, degradant of wetland resource areas. E, isolated lands subject to the flooding below 310 CMR 10.57 size thresholds. F, isolated wetlands less than 5,000 square feet. The Commission shall make will make every effort to identify these areas at the site, will recommend locating them on the plans, will encourage applicants to avoid impacts to these areas, and will suggest possible measures to mitigate unavoidable impacts with respect to drainage and flood control. The jurisdiction of this bylaw shall not extend to uses and structures of agriculture that enjoys the rights and privileges of laws and regulations of the Commonwealth governing agriculture, including work performed for normal maintenance or improvement of land and agricultural or aquacultural uses as defined by 310 CMR 10.04, 9-203.2A, vernal pools. Vernal pools certified by the state shall be considered a resource area. It is the policy of the Commission to protect vernal pools because they provide valuable and increasingly rare wildlife habitat. Because they do not contain water all seasons of the year, a vernal pool must be identified in order to be protected. This can be done at the responsibility of the property owner / developer as part of the determination of applicability or part of the notice of intent review or prior to these processes by qualified person. The Commission must be satisfied that the person identifying a vernal pool is qualified to do so. 9-203.2B, rare species. Where the project site warrants, the applicant may be required to submit quantitative habitat analysis in areas under the jurisdiction of the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. The applicant must obtain a written decision from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program indicating the presence or absence of protected or endangered species. 9-203.3, conditions, exceptions. The order of conditions and application required by this bylaw shall not be required for maintaining, repairing, or replacing, but not substantially changing or enlarging an existing and lawfully located structure or facility used in the service of the public to provide electric, gas, water, sewer, telephone, and other telecommunication services, provided that written notice has been given to the Commission prior to the commencement of any work, and provided that the work conforms to performance standards and design specifications and regulations adopted by the Commission. 9-203.3A, agricultural work. Any agricultural activity as defined by the Farm Assessment Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, to be normal maintenance or improvement of land in agricultural use and therefore exempt from the provisions of the Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 128, Section 1A, and from the Wetlands Protection Regulations 310 CMR 10.00 will also be exempt under this bylaw. Additionally, any agricultural activity as defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, and on land not under the jurisdiction of the Act and 310 CMR 10.00 will be exempt from all local jurisdiction. However, no animals shall be given free access to any wetland, vernal pool, certified or not, isolated land subject to flooding, marsh, swamp, bog, etc., intermittent or perennial stream, and they must be kept far enough from or below the level of aforementioned wetlands so that the waste does not impact said wetlands. The application and order of conditions required by this bylaw shall not be required for work performed for normal maintenance or improvement of land. 9-203.3B, emergency work. The application and permit required by this bylaw shall not be required for emergency projects necessary for the protection of the health and safety of the public, provided that the work is to be performed by or has been ordered by to be performed by an emergency of the Commonwealth or a political subdivision thereof, provided that written advance notice has been given to the Commission prior to commencement of work or within 24 hours after commencement, provided that Commission or its agent certifies the work as an emergency project, provided that the work is performed only for the time and place certified for the Commission for the limited purposes necessary to abate the emergency, and provided that within 21 days of commencement of an emergency project, a permit application shall be filed with the Commission for review. Upon failure to meet these and other requirements of the Commission may, after notice in a public hearing, revoke or modify an emergency project approval and order restoration and mitigation measures. 9-203.3C, waivers. Strict compliance with this bylaw may be waived when, in the judgment of the Commission, such action is in the public interest and is consistent with the intent and purpose purpose of the bylaw. Any request for a waiver must be submitted to the commission in writing stating why a waiver is desired or needed, is in the public benefit, and is consistent with the intent and purpose of the Wetlands Protection Act and this bylaw. All waiver requests shall be presented at the time of filing. And I will stop there. Thank you.
Very good, well done. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 9TAC 203.4, filing requirements and procedures. 9TAC 203.4 alpha, permits. Written application shall be filed with the Conservation Commission to perform activities affecting resource areas protected by the bylaw. The permit application shall include such information and plans as are deemed necessary by the Commission to describe proposed activities and their effects on the resource area protected by the bylaw. By this bylaw. No activities shall commence without receiving and complying with the permit issued pursuant to this bylaw except as certified to the emergency under section 9TAC 203.3 Bravo above. 9TAC 203.4 Bravo, determinations. Any person desiring to know whether or not a proposed activity or an area is subject to this bylaw may, in writing, request a determination from the Commission on the appropriate form. The request shall contain all necessary information, plans, data, calculations, etc., as specified by regulations. The Commission, in an appropriate case, may accept as the application and plans under the bylaw any application and plans filed under the Act and 310 CMR 10, but the Commission is not obliged to do so. At the time of the permit application, the applicant shall pay a filing fee according to the schedule in the associated Southbridge Wetlands Protection and Conservation Bylaw rules and regulations. This fee is not refundable. The fee is in addition to the fee which is underscored, required by the Act and 310 CMR 10. 9TAC 203.5, notice of hearings. The applicant filing a request for determination or application for a permit under the provisions of this bylaw shall give written notice with proof of mailing or by hand delivery to all butters within 100 feet from the property lines of the property in which the project is to occur according to the current assessor's records 5 days in advance of the scheduled hearing in accordance with the provisions of this bylaw and its regulations. The Commission is responsible for notifying the applicant and owner, if not the same, of the time and place of the scheduled hearing. Also, the Commission is responsible for placing a notification of the subject hearing in local newspapers at least 5 days prior to the hearing. The Commission shall conduct a public hearing within 21 days of the receipt of a completed application for a permit and a request for determination under unusual circumstances prevent this scheduling. Under such circumstances, the hearing shall be scheduled at the next regularly scheduled Commission meeting having time available. The Commission may, at its option, combine the hearing under this bylaw and the hearing conducted under the Act. The Commission shall have the authority to continue the hearing to a specific date agreeable to the applicant announced at the hearing without further notification for reasons stated in the hearing. Those reasons may include, but are not limited to, requests from the other boards, officials, or attendees. In the event that the applicant objects to the continuance and the hearing shall be closed, the hearing shall be closed, and the Commission will take action on available information. 9TAC 203.6, notification to other town officials, boards, and commissions. At the same time, it advertises the public hearing. The Commission shall notify the Department of Public Works, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Board of Health, Building Inspector, and any other relevant municipal body regarding the application before the Commission. The Commission shall not take final action until such boards and officials have had 7 days from receipt of the notice to file written comments and recommendations with the Commission. The Commission shall take into account any comments or recommendations, but they shall not be binding on the Commission. The applicant shall have the right to receive any such comments and recommendations and to respond to them at the public hearing prior to the final action. 9TAC 203.7, public hearings, permits and conditions. If the Commission, after a public hearing, determines that the activities which are the subject of the application are likely to have a significant or cumulative effect upon the wetlands values protected by this bylaw, the Commission, within 21 days of the close of the hearing, unless unusual circumstances prevent it, shall issue or deny a permit for the activities requested. Determination of the applicability will be issued within 21 days of the receipt and the request. If the Commission issues a permit, conditions shall be imposed which are deemed necessary to protect the interests and values, and all activities shall be performed in accordance with those conditions. The Commission is empowered to deny a permit for failure to meet the requirements of this bylaw, for failure to submit necessary information and plans requested by the Commission, for failure to avoid or prevent unacceptable significance or cumulative effects, to avoid or prevent unacceptable significance or cumulative effects upon the wetland values protected by the bylaw, and where no conditions are adequate to protect those values. Permit shall expire 3 years from the date of issuance. The Commission may issue a permit expiring 5 years from the date of the issuance for recurring or continuous maintenance work, provided that annual notification of time and location of the work is given to the Commission. Any permit may be renewed once for an additional 1-year period, provided that a request for renewal is received in writing by the Commission 30 days prior to the expiration. The Commission, for good cause, may revoke or modify the permit issued under the bylaw after notice to the holder of the permit, notice to the public, abutters, and town boards pursuant to the preceding Section 9 Tech 203.5 in public hearing. The Conservation Commission, in an appropriate case, may combine the permit or other action on an application issued under the bylaw with the order of conditions issued under the Act. The Commissions may deny the request for an extension and require the filing of a new permit request under the following circumstances. 1, no work has begun on the project except where such failure to delays is due to delays caused by the events or processes outside the applicant's control that are clearly identified in the extension request. 2, new information has become available indicating that the order is not adequate to protect the interests covered by this bylaw. No work proposed in any permit application shall be undertaken until a permit issued by the Commission with respect to such work has been recorded to the Registry of Deeds, or if the land affected thereby be registered land in the registry section of the land court for the district wherein land lies, and until the holder of the permit certifies in writing to the Commission that the permit has been recorded. 9 Tech 203.8 violations and enforcement. No person shall remove, fill, dredge, build upon, degrade, or otherwise alter protected resource areas, or cause suffer, or allow such activity, or leave in place unauthorized fill, or otherwise fail to restore illegally altered land to its original condition, or fail to comply with the permit or an enforcement order issued. 9 Tech 203.8 alpha identification of violations. Violations can be identified by the observations of the Conservation Commission and or its agent, wetlands consultant, and citizens. Reports of violations are always confidential. Commissioners and staff may not reveal the source of any report to possible violations. When potential violations are reported to Commissioner, the Commission's agents or a wetland consultant will determine whether a violation exists, and if the enforcement order is necessary, the wetland consultant may consult with the Commission's agent and Commissioners as necessary, but if time or other constraints exist, may proceed employing best judgment. A temporary enforcement order or temporary cease and desist order may be imposed by an individual Commission member, wetlands consultants, or Commission's agents. But all such temporary orders must be ratified by a majority vote of the Commission at a public meeting within 21 days and may be extended at such time for any period of Commission deems necessary. 9 Tech 203.8 Bravo violations. 1, if a Commissioner or Commission's agents or wetland consultant confirms or strongly suspects a violation, an enforcement order will be issued. Enforcement orders will direct the property owners and contractors to 1, stop the work, 2, identify resource areas on the site, 3, install erosions and/or sedimentation controls, and 4, meet with the Commission to discuss the violation. 2, if the wetlands line has been previously approved by the Commission, its location will be the basis for the evaluation of the violation. If a wetland line has not been established or approved by the Commission, then the Commission or the enforcement order may require the owner, developer, and contractor to employ wetland scientists at the applicant's expense to identify wetlands resource areas with flagging within a time frame not longer than 2 weeks from the date of the enforcement order. All enforcement orders will be maintained in the conservation database and placed on file. At the subsequent meeting, the Commission will consider the following aspects of the violation. A, value of the area to the statutory interest. B, harm of the damage. C, immediacy of the harm. D, value of restorations. E, feasibility of restorations. F, potential legal outcomes. G, potential financial burden to the town of Southbridge. 3, the commission shall have authority to enforce its regulations and permits by the issuance of enforcement orders, administrative orders, and the initiation of civil and criminal court actions. Any person who violates the provisions may be ordered to restore the property to its original condition and take other action deemed necessary to remedy such violations, fined, or both. The enforcement officers in the non-criminal disposition procedures shall be members of the Conservation Commission or its agents. 4, upon request of the commission, the town manager and the town attorney shall take legal action for enforcement under the civil law. Upon request of the commission, the chief of police shall take legal action for enforcement under criminal law. 5, municipal boards and officers, including any police officer or other officer having police powers, shall have authority to assist the commission in enforcement. As an alternative to criminal prosecution in a specific case, the commission may issue citations under the non-criminal disposition procedures set forth in Mass General Law, Chapter 40, subsection 21D. 6, in addition to any other remedies available under any law or this bylaw, any person who violates any provision of this bylaw, regulation, permit, or administrative order issued may be fined according to the fine schedule below. A, the fine for filing in a wetland or resource area is $5 per square foot of filled-in resource area per day, each day or portion thereof during this which a violation continues or unauthorized fill or other alteration remains in place shall constitute a separate offense. Also, each provision of the bylaw, regulations, permits, and administrative order or orders violated such shall constitute a separate offense. For example, if unauthorized fill of a wetland amounts to 100 square feet, the commission or its agent has the right to issue a penalty of $500 for each day unauthorized fill remains in the wetland or resource area. B, for all other violations, each day a portion thereof during this violation continues shall constitute a separate offense, and each provision of the bylaw, regulations, permits, or administrative order or orders of violated shall constitute a separate offense. 7, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, subsection 21D, and the Town of Southbridge General Bylaw, Section 1, TAC 111, the commission or its agents may issue the following penalties for wetland violations, in brackets, in addition to the fine for filing of wetlands, closing the brackets, after initial notification by the Southbridge Conservation Commission or its agents. A, first offense, $100 for each day the violation exists. B, second offense, $150 for each day the violation exists. C, third offense and all subsequent offenses, $200 for each day the violation exists. Fines assessed under the bylaw shall be separate from and in addition to any applicable under the Act. 9 TAC 203.9, construction standards and restrictions. 9 TAC 203.9, alpha sequence of construction. The applicant shall provide a detailed sequence of construction to the commission as part of the standard filing requirements detailing in what order the project's construction will follow. Said sequence shall be followed by the applicant unless amended and approved by the commission. 9 TAC 203.9, Bravo, wetland setbacks for new activities in order to protect and preserve the public interests and values of the wetlands and waterways of this town of Southbridge. Activities in wetland and buffer zone resource areas shall be avoided to the full extent practicable. The following are the minimum distances, setbacks of activities from the edge of the wetlands to or vernal pools as per section 9 TAC 203.2 alpha. These setbacks are the minimum and may be extended further if deemed necessary for the protection of the interest in the bylaw by the commission. These setbacks may be reduced if the applicant successfully demonstrates to the commission that there are no adverse impacts along the site inspection by the commission. The setbacks shall be as follows. A, 0-foot setback for wetland dependent structures, brackets, drains, outfits, wares, etc., fences and culverts or bridges necessary to upland access where reasonable alternative access is unavailable. B, 25-foot setback of undisturbed natural vegetation. C, 50-foot no-build setback to the edge of the driveway, roadways, and structures. D, 25-foot chemical-free areas within which no fertilizer, herbicides, pesticides, or other chemical maintenance substances shall be used. E, 100-foot setback for underground and above-ground storage of gasoline, oil, or other fuels and hazardous materials. F, 100-foot setback of undisturbed natural vegetation to the mean high water line for the vernal pool certified or not where practicable. 9TAC 203.9, Charlie, erosion prevention, proposed location of all silt and erosion prevention devices such as silt fence, I think it's core logs, and hay bales shall be shown on the plan submitted at the wetland filing furnished by the applicant for the commission review and approval. These devices shall be installed prior to the commencement of the activities on the site and maintained until landscaping is established and inspected by the commission or its agent. 9TAC 203.9 Delta storage of fill. If any fill is to be stored on site, it shall be stored outside the buffer zone and covered by an impenetrable barrier, or tarp. The location of the said fill shall appear on any plan submitted to the commission with the notice of intent. If the commission determines that the proposed location of the fill threatens the area is subject to protection, it may require that the applicant to store such fill in a different location or remove it completely from the site. 9TAC 203.9 Echo, construction debris or spoils area. There shall be no disposal or burial of construction debris like scrap, i.e. scrap, lumber, metals, concrete, asphalt, piping, logs, stumps, etc., within 100 feet of the wetland. Illegal disposal of the said debris shall result in stop work order, fine, required removal of said debris or all the above. The commission may allow the creation of spoils area, which would be required at the designated, required to be designated on the project plan. If it is proven that it will not harm areas subject to the protection, this spoils area must be protected from the elements as if it were fill as above. 9TAC 203.9 Fox, wetlands replication and requirements. 1, it is the policy of the commission to follow the no net loss guidelines set forth by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. Therefore, applicants who propose to alter resource areas under the commission's jurisdiction must demonstrate that there is no practical alternative, minimize impacts where they are unavoidable, and mitigate losses of the wetlands resource area where applicable or appropriate on a 1 to 1.5 basis. Limited projects are included in this requirement. 1.5 ration that may be reduced to 1:1 if the applicant successfully demonstrates to the commission that the site will not be a 1 to 1.5 ratio due to the area of the site, slope, soil type, or other natural features which would adversely affect the created wetland resource area. 2, projects involving wetlands filling and or permanent alterations shall meet the requirement of 310 CMR 10.603 and 10.554 and the following requirements of the commission. A, the proposed replication area design must be submitted to the commission for approval as part of the submittal of the project notice of intent. Applicants are advised to appear before the commission or preliminary discussion, comments, and review prior to submittal of the replication plan with a notice of intent. B, the replication area must be shown to sufficiently duplicate the functions of the wetland proposed to be altered. C, the replication area shall be constructed to the extent possible immediately after the alteration of the existing wetland and during the same growing season. D, the proposed replication area must be clearly flagged for commission site inspections before the notice of intent filing shall be considered complete, and said flagging shall correspond to flagging shown on the plans. E, the notice of intent submittal for the replication area shall include a detail of replication shown. 1, cross section with indication of groundwater levels, soil profile, and thickness of organic soil in the existing proposed wetlands. 2, plant species detail, including species found in the area to be altered and number, types of and locations of the species to be introduced in the replication area, brackets, which shall be native wetland species. 3, detail of stabilization plans and replication area banks. 4, wildlife habitat diversity plan. F, construction of the replication shall follow all requirements as set forth by the commission. 3, if, after 3 growing seasons, the commission determines that the replication area has not satisfactorily developed into a wetland, the applicant or owner may be required to submit new plans to successfully replace the wetland. No certificate of compliance shall be issued until the commission has determined that the satisfactory replication area has been completed and the end of the 3-year period. Yeah, I'll keep going.
Very good.
10 more pages to go. 9 Tech 203.1, surety. As part of the permit issued under the bylaw, in addition to any surety requirement by any other municipal or state board, agency, or official, the commission may require that the performance and observance of the conditions proposed thereunder, brackets including conditions required mitigation work, be secured wholly or in part by one or both of the methods described below. 1, by a proper bond, deposit of money or negotiable securities under a written third-party escrow arrangement or other undertaking of financial responsibility sufficient in the opinion of the commission to be released in whole or in part upon issuance of certificate of compliance and work performed pursuant to the permits. Number 2, which is under brackets, or underscored, I'm sorry. By accepting a conservation restriction, easement, or other covenant enforceable in a court of law executed and duly recorded by the town, the owner of the record running with the land to the benefit of the town of Southbridge, whereby the permit conditions shall be performed and observed before any lot may be conveyed other than by the mortgage deed. This method shall be used only with the consent of the applicant. Said bond or other surety shall be payable to the town of Southbridge sufficient to secure the faithful and satisfactory performance of work required by any final order of condition in such sum upon such conditions as the commission may require. Notwithstanding the above, the amount of such bond shall not exceed either the estimated cost of the work required by the final order of conditions or the estimated cost of the work required for the restoration of affected lands and properties if the work is not performed as required, whichever is greater, but may include a sum to account for reasonable projected inflation if the property shall last more than 1 year, in brackets including replication time. 9 Tech 20311 appeals. A decision of the commission shall be reviewable in the Superior Court in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 249, subsection 4. 9 Tech 203.12 relation to the Wetlands Protections Act. This bylaw is adopted under the Home Rule Amendment of the Massachusetts Constitution and the Home Rule statutes, independent of the Wetlands Protection Acts, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, subsection 40, as amended, and Regulation 310, CMR 10, as amended thereunder. It is the intention of this bylaw that the purposes of jurisdictions, authorities, exemptions, regulations, specifications, standards, and other requirements shall be interpreted and administered as stricter than those under the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations. NITAC 203.13, severability. If any provision of this bylaw is held invalid by the court of a competent jurisdiction, such holding shall not affect the validity of the remainder of this bylaw, nor shall it invalidate any order of condition or determination which previously has been issued. NITAC 203.14 regulations. 1. After public notice and public hearing, the Commission shall promulgate rules and regulations to effectuate the purposes of the bylaw. Failure by the Commission is to promulgate such rules and regulations or a legal declaration of invalidity of such regulations by the court of law shall not act to suspend or invalidate the effects of this bylaw. 2, the Southbridge Conservation Commission may from time to time adopt such other regulations and further definitions, regulations, fees, and performance standards as it may deem necessary to protect the interests and or / intent of the bylaw. Such or said definitions, regulations, fees, and performance standards shall become effective upon publication following a public hearing advertised as per state law. 3, at a minimum, these regulations shall define key terms in this bylaw and establish basic performance standards not inconsistent with the bylaws and procedures governing the amount and filing of the fees. NITAC 203.15 definitions. The following definitions shall apply to in the interpretation and implementation of this bylaw. NITAC 203.15 alpha alter shall include without limitation the following activities when undertaken to, upon, within, or affecting resource areas protected by the bylaw. 1, removal, excavation, or dredging of soil, sand, gravel, or aggregate materials of any kind. 2, change of pre-existing drainage characteristics, flushing characteristics, salinity distribution, sedimentation patterns, flow patterns, or flood retention characteristics. 3, drainage or other disturbances of water level or water table. 4, dumping, discharging, or filling with any material which may degrade water quality. 5, placing of fill or removal of materials which would alter elevation. 6, driving of piles, erection or repair of buildings or structures of any kind. 7, placing the obstructions or objects in water. 8, destruction or plant life, including cutting of trees. 9, changing temperature, biochemical, oxygen demand, or other physical, biological, or chemical characteristics of any water. 10, any activities, changes, or work which may cause or tend to contribute to the pollution of any body of water, groundwater. 11, incremental activities which have or may have a cumulative adverse impact on the resource areas protected by the bylaw. 9 TAC 20315 Bravo, abutter is any landowner as determined by the most recent assessor's records whose land immediately abuts the property which is the subject of the notifications, or whose land lies across a public or private traveled way or across any river, stream, pond, or lake downstream to the distance of 100 feet. In our particular case, the Southbridge Conservation Commission can add persons to the list of abutters to be notified. 9 TAC 203.15 Charlie, intermittent stream is a body of running water that does not flow year-round. It may flow in all seasons except during the driest summer months or or only after precipitation or when the groundwater levels or the water from the snowmelt are high. There may be little or no vegetation on the rocks, and only invertebrates may be species that can tolerate periods of drought. An intermittent stream shall be delineated by a defined permanent channel and bank and the occurrence of 2 or more of the following characteristics. A, evidence of scour or deposits of recent alluvium or detritus. Okay,
Detritus.
I accept that. Bravo. The presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm incident. C, the presence of hydrophytic vegetation, and or D, the presence of a hydric soil. 9 TAC 20315 Delta. Person shall include any individual, group of individuals, association, partnership, corporation, company, business, organization, trust, estate, the Commonwealth, or political subdivision thereof, to the extent subject to town bylaws, administrative agencies, public or quasi-public corporation or body, this municipality, and any other legal entity, its legal representatives, agents, or assigns. 9 TAC 203.15 Echo. Rare species shall include those vertebrates and invertebrates, animal species officially listed as endangered, threatened, or of special concern by the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife under 321 CMR 8 as amended, as well as those plant species listed as rare, threatened, or endangered by the Massachusetts Natural Heritage Program, regardless of whether the site in which they occur has been previously identified. 9 TAC 20315 Fox. Stream includes any body of running water moving in the channel of the ground, including intermittent streams, perennial streams, rivers, and headwaters of the streams above the point where there are wetlands adjoining them. 9 TAC 203.15 Gulf. Vernal pool is confined basin depression which contains a small body of standing water, usually drying out for part of the year during warm weather, as well as the area within 100 feet of the mean annual boundary of such a depression, to the extent that such habitat is within an area subject to the protection under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, subsection 40, as specified in 310 CMR TAC 10.02 L, as amended. It can be natural or man-made and usually lacks a permanent outlet or any fish population. Further, the occurrence of one or more obligate species, including the fairy shrimp, spotted salamander, Jefferson salamander, marble salamander, wood frog, and or eastern spade foot toad, is necessary to conclusively define the vernal pool, this area or essential breeding habitat, and provide the other extremely important wildlife habitat functions during non-breeding season, as well for a variety of amphibian species such as a wood frog and the spotted salamander, and are important habitat for other wildlife species. 9 TAC 203.15 Hotel. Wetlands under this bylaw include wet meadows, marshes, bogs, and swamps of all kinds, regardless of whether they border or surface waters as defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 131, subsection 40, as amended. 9 TAC 203.15 India, which is underscored. Wetlands consultant means a person with experience and training in wetlands issues who is able to conduct, submit, and explain wetlands delineation, the classification, functional, and assessments and mitigation plans, except as otherwise provided in this bylaw or regulation of the commission. The definitions of the term in this bylaw shall be set forth in the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, subsection 40, and Regulation 310, or CMR 10.
Wow. You put us to shame, Counselor.
9 pages.
That was excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Seen worse.
Oh, boy. Okay, to discuss this, I need a motion to approve the amendment, the bylaw as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. Discussion. Would you like to address us first, Mr. Rumsey?
If I may.
Certainly.
The only part of the proposed amendments by Councilor Steves that it's not, I don't take any issue with that. It's just I don't really understand the point of it, is the addition to surety 9-20310 on page 9.2. That was in the original document that was presented to subcommittee, and it was subsequently removed at subcommittee going back a couple of years now, I think in 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. I would like to propose keeping it as original with removing in the first paragraph, the last line, removing one or both of and the S after method, or methods, excuse me. Reasoning for that really is because as proposed with number 2 in there, the town could end up owning conservation easements over very small areas of people's land, and it doesn't solve what we're trying to accomplish with surety. I know other towns have that in their bylaws, that same language. In my mind, surety is a temporary thing, and an easement is much more permanent. And it does not solve the issue of if someone violates their order. Let's say they're constructing a driveway and it has a wetlands crossing that is a culvert, and the area that they're cleared to put the culverts in is, let's say, 100 square feet, and they move it 10 feet over and it's 500 square feet. With a surety bond, we can pull that bond and fix that if necessary at the contractor or the owner's expense. With a conservation easement, we're still stuck and have to go through the violations process. So that's my reasoning for that. It's sort of in a nutshell, and I'm completely open to.
Council Steves.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with what Eric is requesting, because I was actually misreading it, because I had gone back to dig up that section, that older section of the bylaw, because of the way it was phrased as either of those two options, and I thought it was accidentally removed. Honestly, I'd forgotten the fact that we took it out in subcommittee. So I have no problem with removing that and making the change that Eric suggested. Also, I wanted to propose another amendment, well, 2 other amendments. One is to 9203.5, which in previous readings, I thought you, Mr. Chairman, had suggested that there was language in there that will allow the commission to inform other property owners if there were weird circumstances where they weren't actually within 100 feet, but like, for example, I can think of the property I'm thinking of, for example, down, say, by the watershed, where all of these little parcels that are all town-owned, but somebody who might be affected was actually like 250 feet away, but they're technically a neighboring property from their point of view. So that, I wanted to add language to that, the end of that paragraph saying, the commission may also require notice to nearby property owners beyond 100 feet on a reasonable case-by-case basis determined by project scope, not the nearby owner. And I wanted to throw that phrasing is in there specifically so that we have a situation where it's direct to the project, not, well, this guy's my friend, I want to notify him. this person, I don't like them, so I don't want to notify them. I want to avoid that kind of favoritism going on. Notification should be based on the project itself, not the individual. And the other thing was, under 9-203.14 subsection 2, I realized looking through it while you were reading it, that actually the issue that I had thrown in originally is such other regulations and further definitions. It's actually, the problem is actually not the way it's phrased. It's actually that there's a period there where there should be a comma, which is why it didn't make sense. It should read, adopt such other and further definitions, comma, regulations, comma, fees, yada, yada, yada. Not the period made it look weird. That's why I misread it. So those are the only amendments that I was going to suggest to what we've already done. And if I may, how do we want to do this, Mr. Chairman? Do we want to go with other amendments, or do we want to, or would you mind me making a few points specific, more on why we should be supporting this?
I would like to make an amendment.
I'm sorry?
I would like to make an amendment.
All right. Let's have a motion to amend.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend, as I just stated, plus the ones that we've already put in as underlined, except for the paragraph that Eric wanted taken out.
Okay,
Which was eliminating option number 2 under 9-203.10.
203.10,
And rephrase it as the method described below, going into the first paragraph.
all right, so you'd eliminate 2
Yeah,
and just change the verbiage in the last sentence of the introductory paragraph.
yep.
All right, everyone follow that?
And the line that I stated about 9-203.5 a minute ago,
Yep,
and the correction that I suggested for 9-203.14 subsection 2, and the underlined new definition for 9-203.15I, the wetlands consultant definition, which is already in the text we were reading, and the words missing, are adding the words missing in 9-203.14, which I think we've already read.
okay, we have a motion to amend the bylaw further. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? As stated, Council Marquetti.
We're not adding any long verbiage here, we're just making some grammar corrections, is that correct?
Mostly,
Okay.
mostly, and correcting.
The first one you were talking about, I have no idea what that is about, and I would suggest we leave that out for now.
Which one are you referring to?
The one that you were saying that abutters, I think we should just leave that out for now, and maybe you could add that at some other time, but to add that now is kind of late in the reading, to start adding long paragraphs about,
I'm just adding one line. I can reread it if you like.
the one about abutters.
Yeah, specifically I said, the commission may also require notice.
Council, use the microphone.
Oh, sorry. I said, the simple addition is just one line. It is, the commission may also require notice to nearby property owners beyond 100 feet on a reasonable case-by-case basis determined by the project scope, not the nearby owner. That would be attached to the end of the paragraph of 9-203.5 that starts with the applicant filing a request, yada, yada, yada.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendments? Very good. All those in favor? Those against? 1, 2, 3. 5-3, motion passes. For the
So I would
amendments.
like to make an amendment too, as well.
Certainly.
9-203.8A, identification of violations. Violations can be identified by observations of the Conservation Commissioners and/or its agents, wetland consultants, and citizens. Reports of violations are always confidential. Commissioners and staff may not reveal the source of any report of possible violations. I would like that completely stricken and replaced with violations can be identified by observations of the Conservation Commissioner's agent and/or its wetland consultant, period. The reason for that is I don't feel individual Conservation Commission members and/or citizens should be walking around on private property looking for violations. That's the job of an agent or a consultant. Citizens can always report violations at any time on anything. That's called freedom of speech. I just don't think it's necessary to include it here. And also, as far as I can tell, confidentiality is not included in any other town bylaw. If we want to include it here, that's fine. Then I propose we include it everywhere. The second paragraph, when potential violations are reported, a commissioner, I would like that stricken, and just the commission's agent. And the last paragraph, a temporary enforcement order or temporary cease and desist order may be imposed by an individual commission member. I would like to strike that and just imposed by a wetland consultant or the commission's agent, because at the end of that paragraph, all temporary orders must be ratified by a majority vote of the commission at a public meeting within 21 days. So the Conservation Commission will be involved with it eventually when they hold a public hearing on an enforcement order or temporary cease and desist order that was imposed by the wetland consultant or commission's agent. My other change is 203.9-203.8B violations. If a commissioner, I'd like to strike that and replace it with if the Conservation Commission, because again, I don't think an individual commissioner the Conservation Commission will eventually be determining whether a violation exists, and not an individual commissioner. And finally, on 9-203.8B, number 7, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Mass state law was the fine was $100 and that's it. There's not additional fines. As far as I was looking at state law, it's $100 and that's all. You've added additional fines here. I think we should just keep it at $100. That's what state law is.
So if I may address two of your proposed amendments, if I may. 9-2038B1, if a commissioner, the commission's agent, or wetlands consultant confirms or et cetera, that actually follows along with state law. So a commissioner may issue an enforcement order under state law.
An individual commission member?
Correct. It still has to go through the ratification process by the entire commission, but yes, a single commissioner may. So just as a sort of point of clarification on that. And in regards to 7, our general laws, section 1-111, that was pulled directly from there. It's the same violations that we have for zoning violations, potentially for building violations and other such violations. So
I thought it was $100. I was looking at the state bylaw. I thought it, for our wetlands, I thought it said $100, and that was it for fines. There's also a large fine, but $100 was for the other one I was suggesting is that we take citizens out of this, because I don't think individual citizens should be walking around and locking on my property and looking and see if I'm violating a wetlands bylaw.
I don't have any issue with that personally. I don't know if, I mean, Maureen is here. She's on the
I mean, I love Maureen Doyle to death, but I mean, if I saw her walking on my land, I'd say, Maureen, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I understand. I think that removing that is not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's that citizens need to be aware that they should be notifying the agent.
No, they can do it anyway.
Which is something we can put on the website, which I think we have done. You know, we have put on there, I believe it says, for concerns, call me or email me, or use the contact form on the website to get it.
Well, I would just withdraw my other two, but striking citizens, I would like to keep that.
I think that's fine, because if someone sees something they should be notifying us anyway
Right.
so that we can go out and verify.
Okay.
So I think that's fine, in my mind.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, I can't do that.
I'll second.
Great. Okay, Counselor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Councilor Marquetti, but I also know that when we were discussing this and people being able to walk on pieces of property and stuff like that, A, there's got to be notification. B,
It
there has
is
to
in
have
there.
identification. C,
it
I
is
mean,
in here.
okay, it is, but what I'm saying is, it's already in there. Citizens shouldn't be walking around on your property whatsoever, just looking about, doing their walkabout and thinking that's okay. So maybe striking this from it, I have no problem with that whatsoever, but I just wanted to let the citizens know that they can't just be walking on people's property, nor can the commission. The commission can't just roll in there without notification in the first place, with identification as well. Thank you.
Counselor Steves.
I just wanted to point out well, first of all, this whole section is, if you've noticed, at least the version that's on the website has a whole bunch of ones for every paragraph. They're all paragraph one, which is weird. So that needs to be corrected. But that's just a stenographer error. But the other point is, I just wanted to point out, as far as to kind of respond to what Mike was saying, is that in some senses, I think, except maybe for some of the occasionally when you get really new conservation commissions, they don't have this, but once you've been on the Conservation Commission for a long time, and if you've been doing your job as a Conservation Commissioner, you've gone through extensive training. The MAC process has a whole slew of basic training programs for Conservation Commissioners, a lot of other things going on, but beyond the basic training programs. So, I know, for example, Maureen goes through all kinds of stuff on conservation. Of course, she's been there for like 20 years now, 25 years even. And Natasha's been there for a while. And we need a lot more people on Concom, and we need to get some people really up there and running who really care and are willing to go through that process. But once it's done, the people who are on Concom are, generally speaking, people who have a pretty good knowledge of what would constitute a wetlands violation, if they're paying attention. I agree with the point that, for a whole slew of reasons, you shouldn't be walking on private property, but under some circumstances, you might be able to see it from public property.
That's right.
And that's true of citizens too. They might be able to see something from public property too. But I think Eric is right that with citizens, it's easy enough just to contact the office and report it that way. And that's one of the whole reasons why the section also refers to keeping the whoever is reporting it as confidential, among other things. That ensures that person doesn't become targeted by the developer or whomever it is that they're filing a complaint against, and make sure that they can actually, the situation will be treated fairly, and the developer will get their chance to have their hearing in front of in front of the commission itself.
What's that?
That's it for the moment.
Very good. We have a motion and a second on the floor for Counselor Marquetti's amendment. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, his amendment in this case is to simply strike the word citizens.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Very good. Further discussion? Very well. All those in favor?
No.
4. Those against? 4. Can you see those against again, please? Up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion fails on a tie vote.
We're doing it completely different reasons, though. They don't want it at all. I want it in.
The vote has been taken, Mr. Chairman, so no more discussion. Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion?
Are we going to move on to the voting phase?
Yes.
Okay, then I would like to approach the lectern. if you don't mind.
Very good.
Why doesn't he do it up there?
He wants to go to the podium.
Cameras.
So I have up on the screen, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is why I'm voting for the wetlands bylaw. I'll see if this works. This was let's see if I can get the sound up. Well, it doesn't matter if the sound is up, but this is a landfill spill in 2013 about 20,000 cubic yards of, there we go.
We're looking at the turbidity curtain installed downstream violation of Casella waste. This is the retention basin. You see a very turbid water level in there. We're now back into the bordering vegetated wetland. There's the main stream channel flow, as you can see. Highly turbid water. And lots of trash. High the NTU is in this brook. I cannot even see centimeter into the water. So yeah, it disappears instantly. All right, we're at the edge of the swamp area. This was the installed turbidity curtain. I'm gonna say there's been nobody here to monitor this. Total failure. Complete failure. And the impacts are continuing downstream. Point of reference, there's a beaver hut right there in the photograph. There's impact at least to that beaver hut from what I can see here. The construction you see on the other side is the actual dump itself, putting in for the expansion of the stockpile hill. You can see it through the trees.
And so here are some of the images that were taken, a landslide that triggered a $220,000 fine on the landfill operator. The operator of the Southbridge landfill agreed to pay nearly $220,000 in a wetlands violation case. About 20,000 cubic yards of stockpiled topsoil at the landfill got wet and slid toward protected wetlands. The Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park landfill will settle claims that improper maintenance and monitoring of a large soil stockpile caused a landslide that damaged adjacent wetlands. The stockpiled soil had been excavated during landfill expansion. The landslide harmed the wetlands, impairing their ability to protect groundwater and prevent and mitigate flooding and provide habitat for wildlife. The Southbridge Recycling allegedly failed to take immediate action to stabilize the stockpile, waited for 10 days to report erosion and stability problems, and failed to mention the massive landslide when discussing other matters with state environmental officials. Town Manager Christopher Clark said he called DEP after the incident was reported to him by landfill monitor Anna Smith on August 30th. Now, a lot of councilors have said to me that Mass DEP has a wetlands bylaw, and that is true. So where was Mass DEP when this was going on? They were nowhere to be found. And in fact, a lot of the things that you saw up there were going on up there all the time. If we had had a wetland bylaw in place, it's my opinion, a lot of this could have been prevented, and we would not be in the situation that we are in today, where we are scrambling to find a new curbside collection pickup contract because of what went on up there at the landfill. This is the only reason that I am against this wetlands, or in favor of this wetlands bylaw. I'm not trying to hurt small businesses, but this type of thing right here is what I am trying to prevent in the future. A lot of people say to me, Counselor, it's time for you to move beyond the landfill. And I agree. It is time for me to move beyond. But when you see something like this, you also have to consider this. If you have to learn from your mistakes of the past so you don't keep repeating them in the future. In my opinion, if we had learned from this and seen, and with a wetlands bylaw, had seen this right away, we could have prevented a lot of the problems that we have today. So this is why I'm supporting it. I urge the councilors to please support this wetland bylaw. Thank you.
Very good. Council Lazo.
I have to comment to the previous speaker, with all due respect. We learn from our mistakes, I agree. Never give your landfill away again. As far as enforcement, that wasn't a lack of a law, that was lack of enforcement by DEP, and by all the powers were turning their cheek the other way while this was going on. I respect his battle against the landfill. I think he was right in his battle with some of the things that were going on up there. He was telling the truth, and nobody, not on the state level or at any level, stopped what was going on the landfill. And that is a pure, I can just say that no matter how many laws you put in, I'm not voting in favor of this law tonight, but no matter what laws you put in, and I know we all genuinely deal in good faith and trying to do the right thing because it's the right thing, but if there is no enforcement and there are no teeth, people like Casella are so big, they're so corporate, that DEP didn't respond to it. I know when there's an oil spill from a local contractor, God and everybody shows up to clean him up and to fine him to death. But it was a bad situation with Casella. Should have never gave the landfill to Casella. In the early days, we ran it ourselves. We ran it efficiently. We didn't have all the problems we have now. And again, learn by your mistakes. Don't give your landfill away. Don't give your sewer plant away. Have control over it. And I think that we lost control over it when we sublet it to a guy like Casella. And then all of a sudden there was no enforcement on any rules. So again, put all the rules in you want. If you don't have enforcement, it's not going to work. Thank you.
Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ironically, Scott, I agree with you most of what you just said. That's exactly the reason why we need this bylaw. Because of the fact that over the years, especially with COVID, and we saw what Councilor McKinney was pointing out, and what we saw specifically with COVID, we saw that the DEP and the state agencies that were supposed to be protecting us basically were absent, and we didn't get a chance to do anything with half of these people. If we bring them locally, the people who live here are the ones who actually see these kinds of issues and can jump on it and deal with that in such a way that something like that could have been caught much earlier than it was, hopefully. But some of the other issues that we see downtown in our community obviously aren't quite that big and quite that really extensive. But the fact that having somebody local on hand who can act on these kinds of issues are the ones that we don't have to go to the state. You're a big proponent of doing everything locally. That's what this is for, is to do everything locally. And only use the DEP as a fallback if we absolutely need to do it, which if we do it right, we should avoid that. I think that having what we have seen, especially in the last few years with COVID and other things, has proven that with their absence, this has been great for scofflaws, but it's been bad for Southbridge's environment, for Southbridge's people, for Southbridge's community, and our waters. And that's why we need a local bylaw to take the rules that the state has and bring it locally so that local people can enforce it, can have eyes on the issues, can be the ones who are actually looking over and seeing how to correct it and have the ideas of knowing what it needs to be done without necessarily running through the bureaucracy that the state can provide. And we'll also be the community that on the unfortunate circumstances where we have to find somebody, the town will be the ones that actually benefit from it rather than having to send the money to Boston. As it is now, it's split, but this would stay home and would help. And I don't believe in enforcement as an excuse to raise money, but just to make things right. So I think we need to do this to make this right.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Definitely we need bylaw, but we punching the people living in Southbridge. Southbridge, it's built on the water. Rivers, pond, every foot in Southbridge is a wetland. So because of Casella and the past mistake the council or the town did, we're going to harm all the residents of Southbridge. They can't, if you have a little pond or river, you can have a pool, swim in the summer, have fun, enjoy with your kids and all these stuff. I mean, we can put a bylaw against a commercial property, against big businesses, not against somebody have a 10 of the acres, a little house, a branch, you want to enjoy the yard or backyard. I mean, I agree, we need bylaw, but not this one. I'm not going to support that today. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council Steves.
Do you mind if I go up to the podium?
Certainly.
I wanted to say thanks, first of all, to the cable people, because last week, Maureen and I and the other conservation commissioner and my brain just went, psst. Natasha, thank you. My brain just went blank. Did a quick video that I wanted to show you. It's short. Of one of the reasons we've been talking a lot about the Turtle Rescue League to talk to Natasha Noack, who's from the Turtle Rescue League and the Town's Conservation Commission, talk about her experience with turtles and wetlands and the wetland bylaw and why it's important to protect wetlands and the fact that the town is in the process of creating a wetlands bylaw. So Natasha, where did you get these turtles?
All over Massachusetts, really. Each one of these turtles comes in with a number, comes in with a reason. So this is Spunky. Spunky was also a head strike case, so she's been with us, I believe, since 2019. So hers is a long journey, but at this stage, she's feeding on her own, operating on her own. She's actually quite capable. She just doesn't have the fine motor skills quite down yet. Now, Mianki's the only one here that didn't come in here because of injury. Mianki was stolen out of the wild, which is another problem altogether. And actually not too uncommon for Southbridge either.
Like you mentioned, he was stolen from, so what does that mean?
The importance of protecting our wetlands is to preserving their homes. We could be going through a drought. We could be going through mismanagement of a wetland. Beaver ponds. We're huge friends of beaver ponds around here.
Yes.
But if you take out your beaver pond just because you're afraid that you're going to get a little flooding upstream, you get a dry wetland. Any wetland around here during this last summer with the drought was stable and never really got that low on water. And that's just looking at it on the most superficial level. I mean, wetlands are the lungs of Mother Nature. You know, you have not only that battery store of moisture, of water, the recharge to all the wonderful aquifers underground that keeps our wells filled. But, you know, it also is a repository of life. Frogs, amphibians, reptiles. We live in a very complicated, you know, web of an ecosystem. You can't just expect to kick out a bunch of supporting legs and have Mother Nature just say, I'm fine, I can take one more for the team.
So, I can stand around on one leg.
Yeah.
I bet you talk a lot.
She's been standing on one leg since the 1950s at this point. We've been kicking and bruising the heck out of that last leg.
Shall we take a look at the wetland?
Yeah, by all means. You want to take a look at Lebanon Brook? Let's take a walk. You got this beautiful morning sun lighting up the bend in Lebanon Brook, and of course, you got a nice family of beavers up there maintaining a beautiful pond and water reserve. This got pretty low during the drought, but it never came to a stop. I've had previous years where it just literally came to a stop, just a few puddles. You know, this is, of course, one of several brooks that are played home to a number of endangered species in the town of Southbridge. You know, wood turtles call this home, spotted turtles call this home. It's really for the benefit of everybody. That's all the citizens of Southbridge, not just landowners. People who
not just the humans either.
People who are living downtown in apartments. We all benefit. It preserves our green spaces. It makes our parks beautiful. It ensures that our future generations will have a chance to see these beautiful gems of the wetlands. If we're not looking out for them now, no one else will.
Thank you.
Do you wish to add anything?
What's that?
Do you wish to add anything?
Yeah, I think Natasha pretty much said it all there, and it's an issue of protecting both ourselves and the rest of the community around us, both human and other, and we can best do that by passing a bylaw that brings the authority to do so home. That's what this does.
Councilor Lazo.
Yeah, I want to thank the Conservation Commission for that film. It renews my belief in wildlife and in what we do. But we have to remember, when we put these regulations in, we regulate. On the big landfill issue, I'm not sure this would have even worked because of who it was. We had an issue on Gulfwood Road. Let me give you a for instance. There was a gentleman that's been living there for many years, 30, 40 years. A group of beavers built a house, like the wildlife does, and the water backed up to the point where his septic system was going to fail. They had to make provisions to somehow move or relocate the beavers, and ended up, they had to go through a whole process, and they ended up doing it. We need to live together with the environment, and I understand that. But to overregulate it to the point where there's no room for human decision and compromise to work it out, as Joe Dow has said, Councilor Dow is looking out for the small guy, the little guy. The big corporations, you could nail them 24/7. But the one with a little backyard and didn't know and encroached, or a misunderstanding of what is a wetland and not a wetland, I think that, there has to be more. That's why I without getting into a lot of different examples, I just would like to say, that's the reason why I'm not supporting it, is because of the little guy, and moving forward with our environment, trying to live together. I think there are plenty of regulations at the state level. We have our own. I know that we have a conservation board that's very small. We haven't filled it. There's 3 members. They're very pleasant people to deal with. I've dealt with them. Our agent does a very good job, and I think that not only does he do a good job as far as enforcing, he's got a very nice personality. I've dealt with some people on Dresser Hill Road and some other people that he has approached and dealt with that have said he's been very pleasant and understanding to work with. So, I don't think anybody wants to drive, the wildlife out. I just think there has to be a balance, and I think this one goes a little bit too far. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Steves.
This is exactly why we need to do that, is because of the fact that this is the little guy protecting ourselves. Instead of having to rely on the big guy of state government to come in when they feel like it, which is usually not very often, we can do it at our convenience. We can do it when we need to do it to prevent these things from becoming big issues. And the people in town know the players in town. They know the issues in town. We can create situations that enable the little guy who might be an accidental violation to fix the problem without a big deal, rather than having to send it up to the state courts, the state DEP system, and have them get whacked with much larger fines because they've been sitting there for a month and a half or 2 months without getting a hearing for doing anything. Whereas they can do something fairly quickly and cut it short and get the job done fairly quickly and solve the problem. You're a big guy for solving local problems with local people. That's what this does.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just Mr. Rumsey, real quick question for him. Let's just say I lived on Morse Pond. I have a sliver of land that's there, right? It may be 2.388 acres, right? But it's all woods right now. But I wanted to build a home there on that property itself. And I wanted to just build upon it, a new home. I would have to go to the Conservation Commission, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
But could I build that home there? Would I have an opportunity, besides going to a court, would I be able to justify me building something there and then being able to get the Conservation Commission to vote in favor of that build?
Yes, absolutely, with proper permitting and, maybe some mitigative measures if necessary, or installation of erosion controls and some oversight, usually by myself, with doing inspections and things like that. Yes, absolutely, you would be allowed to build on that parcel.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. We have a motion and a second to accept this proposed bylaw as amended. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Dow.
No.
Counselor Lazo.
No.
Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Counselor Montigny.
No.
Counselor Rivas.
Yes.
Counselor
Steve.
Steves, thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Adams, yes.
5 yes, 3 no, the motion passes.
Thank you.
According to the charter, this takes effect in 2 weeks. Very good. We've moved up to agenda item number 16, a vote to go into executive session. It's my understanding that the reasoning no longer exists. Is that correct?
The parties are looking to postpone it to the next meeting. There was further review needed.
Very good. So should we postpone to the next meeting? Very good. Can I have a motion to postpone to the next meeting?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain?
I don't.
All right, very good. And in a similar position to item number 17, I need a motion to postpone.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Very good. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Very good. Number 18, Councilors Forum. Let's start with Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. This is one of the examples right now when it's rain. I took a shower for free. I think time to move on and fix the town hall.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Enough saying we don't want to spend the citizens' money because we're going to end up with no town hall. And then where the citizens going to pay their bills? Where are they going to meet? Where are they going to fix their problem?
Right.
So I think we should move quick because we're really in serious problem here regarding roofing falling down, water leaking in the town hall. There's a lot of things that need to be done. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Steves.
First of all, I want to say I totally agree with what you just said. We just saw exactly why we need to do it. I would also like to say thank you to all of you who supported the bylaw. Now let's just make it work properly. And for those of you out there who are interested in protecting wetlands and environment in general, we desperately need people to come and sign up for the Conservation Commission, get trained, participate, learn something, and do the job. So we desperately need people. Right now there are only 3. 2 are the ones who are showing up on any regular basis. We need a whole bunch of people for that, and a bunch of other boards and commissions. I would like to add also, let's see here. Let's see, as of this Saturday, early voting is beginning here in the town hall. Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, starting this Saturday, and then running through most of the next 2 weeks. They're mostly 8 to 4, some days are 8 to 3, some days they're 8 to noon. Check the the Southbridge website for the actual schedule and get down there and vote. I was going to try to set up a forum for the ballot questions, but unfortunately I only got two sides of the questions responded, and they weren't even the same questions, so unfortunately that's not going to happen. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Rivas.
Thank you, through you. I just want to mention a couple of things. I took part on October 8th with the Board of Health and a few other of their departments and the Board of Health chair in Beautify Southbridge, cleaning up the streets so that our children can trick or treat on our clean streets. And thank you to all the volunteers that came out that day. It was a beautiful day, and we got a lot done. And actually, between the last time we went out and this time, and we were on 600 Block and Cross Street. And I have to say that I want to give credit to the residents in the area for keeping the area fairly clean from the time that we went out last time to this time, and other groups that have gone out and done cleanup. So credit to those who have kept that area fairly clean. And I wanted to also just add to what Councilor Steve said about early voting. The last day to register to vote is Saturday, October 29th. So if you're not registered or you have friends, relatives that are not registered, please, get them down here to register to vote. Your vote is your voice. Very important for us to participate. On that same afternoon, there will be a trunk or treat event at Henry Street Field in the parking lot from 1 to 4. And it's put on by the Apontes, the Kiva Center, a few other community partners who have done this on a yearly basis, and hope to see you there. I will be there. And the last thing I wanted to mention, on October 27th, I believe it's at 6 p.m., our cable access channel will be interviewing Wilfredo Pagan and Zucaro, a boxer who we honored about a month ago at Jacob Edwards Library. They will be there to sort of do a story, to talk about how he became a boxer, his journey, really inspirational story, and I recommend for people to attend that event and, and support our community. Thank you.
Very good. Council Lazo.
Yeah, just a quick comment on the town hall. When Councilor Dow brought this up 3 or 4 meetings ago, when there was a debate on roads or where the priority is, I think they're all important. I think when we were talking to Peg Dean, she did say that she's looking for a 50-50 grant for some architectural money, to hire an architect to analyze the town hall and what has to be done holistically. As far as what happened here tonight, I'm kind of shocked. This is common maintenance to a building. When you have a leaky roof, you fix the roof. I noticed on the old fire station, they temporarily put an arch over the door, but nobody brings forward that the bricks are falling out onto the sidewalk. You can temporarily repoint some of the work for some short money. You can repair a roof with emergency repair money for short money. But if you don't fix the temporary problem for the long-term cure, when we get an architect here to say, do the windows have to be replaced? Do we have an oil tank under does the handicap access need to be worked on? That you're talking about a bonding issue. This is not a bonding issue. This is the town manager comes out of his thing to use the bathroom and water's pouring down the wall. We have a problem. I've never seen water pour down the wall there. I've been here a long time, and that's the first time I've seen it. So, and I know I spend some time in the town hall, but I think maybe we should identify that as an emergency. Remember, you don't fix the roof, you lose the structure. And that's the common connector to all buildings. We have a church that fell down the other day. You want to know why? They didn't fix the roof. The water got between the masonry facade and the main building and popped it when the cold weather came and it froze. What do you think will happen to that this winter when it freezes? Common sense says it's going to pop. Whether it's the masonry, the slate, you're going to lose the structure. Then it's going to cost you massive amounts of dollars to fix. That's just the building field. But I think we need to get a short-term problem on an emergency appropriation to fix what is leaking down the walls. Without getting on the roof, I couldn't tell you what it is. I'll bet you dollars to donuts it's the first 4 feet of slate that is leaking. With that aside, I'd just like to say that, there's a lot of things going on in town, a lot of positive things. Southbridge is still a great place to live. I didn't move out of town. I want to continuously work. The good, healthy debate amongst these councilors always made the council a quality council. The right to disagree doesn't mean you have to hate anybody. Councilor Dow and I have had numerous discussions and disagreements. We still leave the chamber hand in hand. We still work together for the betterment of the community. We must continue to work for the betterment of the community, even if we have a short disagreement over a meeting, over a bylaw. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not going anywhere. I welcome anybody who wants to get involved. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. I don't have much to say, although on Saturday, over the long weekend, the Budify Southbridge, it had to be overflow from that because I was driving around after 1 o'clock and I saw people that I had no idea were involved in town. Maybe they were just picking up trash, but there were two people that I believe were former students of mine, and that they were picking up trash with one of those pickers and putting it in a bag as they walked down Elm Street. And it just made me feel great because I knew that by this point the event was already over, and whether they were doing it by themselves or continuing going on, I just thought it was great. And it is another reason why it made me feel good. I had a really busy day that day, but it made me feel good. It's like, wow, Southbridge is just still, the citizens always care, and that's why the people of Southbridge are the best people around. So thank you very much.
Very good. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Got a couple of things here. First of all, Mr. Town Manager, you mentioned a couple weeks ago a municipal aggregation option on electric rates. I'd like to know what's going on with that, if I could get an update on that.
I have mentioned it to our electricity consultant. He indicated at the time he would help me do a little more research. He said it can be cumbersome for communities. I have a follow-up. We're currently working on the current electricity contract for the municipalities going forward for the next fiscal year. So I check in with him weekly. I just got him our most recent electric bills to review. So I will be checking with him tomorrow. I'll bring it up again. But
All right, thank you. I just
out.
noticed that in the newspaper, some area communities were doing the same thing. Also, snow plowing for this winter. I've seen several ads in the local papers for several communities around here looking for snow plow drivers. Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought we had already started this last year, started looking for snow plow drivers. I just would like us to stay updated on that. Something that we should start advertising for. And also, I've had several residents talk to me about the lights, the downtown intersection. They feel that it's very dangerous down there, especially when cars are trying to beat the light and sometimes almost running over pedestrians in the crosswalk. So it's something that I did go to the Traffic Commission, as I mentioned last time, and I'd like us to keep working on that, thinking about that. I'm going to bring it up at one of my next DPW meetings because I think it's something that we need to resolve. I had a suggestion that we maybe put the left turn arrows back on Main Street and maybe even put them at the end of the sequence so we can clear out the intersection. But I think it's something that does need to be looked at. And finally, it has been 231 days since the town council voted to replace the carpets in the town hall. At the last town council meeting, town manager said due to supply chain issues, the carpet installation was delayed. But once the carpets are received, they would be installed, and as we can see this evening when I walked in, carpets have yet to be replaced. Today is October 17th, which happens to be my birthday. I am a young 70 years old.
got bad news for you on the present. Don't have it.
And I hope by this time next year, if I'm still around, that the carpets will have been done. Thank you. And that concludes my remarks.
Somehow I think
I
you'll be
wish I had the present for you, Councilor Marquetti, but nevertheless, I wish you happy birthday.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you. Real quick, on a serious note, last month I was informed by a Worcester City Council person that the Family Health Center here in town and in Worcester and in Webster was planning on shutting its doors. Here in the town of Southbridge, they service 1,500 to 1,600 residents. I attended, because I found out through them and not through Family Health Center, I attended a meeting in Worcester City where there were senators, mayors, all that kind of stuff. And so everybody spoke come to find out, Family Health Center was in the hole, like over $3 million, owed loans, stated 1 month is the cause of them having to shut their doors here in Southbridge, which has 2 houses here that they rent, which is both medical and dental facilities. We met there. One of the things that I stated in there was that though they are the Family Health Center Worcester, that they shouldn't forget about Southbridge because, again, that's 1,500 to 1,600 people that they service that are underserviced. So then we met at RMG, myself and the town manager, and with Mrs. Suarez, Ed Moore, quite a few people, including the CEO from the Family Health Center of Worcester. And one thing that we said was come up with a plan. Myself and the town manager, Councilor Rivas, I've briefed the chair as well. How can we help them? So I followed that up with an email the following week, email again, and I sent the 3rd email today, and I've yet to hear from Mr. Bailey. So I've already talked with Senator Fatman, Representative Durant. I'll be reaching out to them again. I know they were coming up with some plans. I do know the town manager has reached out to Mr. Bailey. He did respond. He stated that he couldn't make our town council meeting this evening. Got it. But can meet on November 7th. The problem with that, though, is December 1st, they've already given up their lease. The doctor over there that sees those individuals has moved on. Nurse practitioners, nurses, CNAs, medical assistants, whatever you are moving on to find other jobs. Yet we're stuck with 1,500 or 1,600 individuals within our community for health care and dental care. I would never bring this up. I don't like to do this in front of the cameras or anything, but because I have yet to hear from Mr. Bailey, though I've reached out to him. I even reached out to him today and said, okay, instead of a in-person meeting, we could do it online. I have yet to see an email from him at all. I do know the town manager spoke to him. Ed Moore, Mr. Moore just got a thing today stating that they are providing, Family Health Center of Worcester is providing the patients, the demographics, some of the other things. That's great to hear. But the town council, as the government, was trying to help where it could, and he has completely gaffed us off. I personally don't even want to see him up at our dais, or at our podium anymore. We worked really hard to try to figure out, the town manager and myself, to figure out how can we help these individuals. Not that we're going to give out free loans or grants or anything like that, but my issue is it sounds like the Worcester facility, the original facility, the base, is going to be okay. Worcester City has provided $75,000 to them already to help with paying for translators. The state has already provided them millions of dollars of loans. And I didn't want to sit there and talk about that in front of Senator Fatman because I've already talked to him about this, and I know he's working hard, and Representative Duran is working hard. But though they're going to shut the doors on us, and we got to figure out how we're going to bring in 1,500, 1,600 residents into our Harrington Hospital, RMG, and a few other places, they keep getting money from the state. And my biggest problem at this point is I guess we're not a big enough fish for them to provide millions upon millions of dollars to provide those services here. One comment Mr. Bailey kept saying to us was, we never said no. We never said no, and they said that's why they're in the position they're in where they have to shut the doors in Webster and Southbridge. Now, they haven't come out officially said we're done, but they have already shut down their doors for leasing the rental property. Everybody is starting to move on. So we know that the light at the end of the tunnel is completely gone within our community. I highly, and I'll talk to Senator Fatman about this, I highly recommend they stop getting the money. I highly recommend that they start spending that money on organizations that are working, that are fulfilling their needs on taxpayer dimes, and leaving residents high and dry. I will make note, on September 8th, a news article was submitted by the Family Health Center of Worcester stating they were working with the local governments. Yet, I didn't hear anything from them. None of us heard anything from them. But guess who did? Worcester City Councilwoman, who informed us. And that's how I ended up on a meeting the following Tuesday. We weren't invited. I invited myself. And so I just wanted to put this out there because there's a lot of people out there asking the questions that are struggling right now to find health care coverage, proper health care coverage, and dental services. So I'm very disappointed. I know it's Councilor's Forum. I apologize, Mr. Chair, but this guy and this program, I'm skeptical about continuing to give state money, federal money to this program. Sure, they've done a wonderful job. Right now, they're not. So, on another note, I want to thank the DPW for working really hard over Hunter's Ridge. All the lights were out. I talked to the town manager. All the lights were out on the streets. I received a phone call from a resident saying it's dangerous. We feel threatened sometimes walking down our own street over at Hunter's Ridge, kind of like a forgotten area because of the individual who couldn't afford to finish his responsibilities. But DPW, I want to thank today because they went up there and one day figured out what the problem was, and they finally have lights up there. I just got a text message from the young lady who texted me, said they're all working over there in her area. So that's great. I'm hoping everything else is fine in the rest of that area. So thank you to DPW and Mr. Town Manager. Also, on November 11th, every year, Veterans Day ceremony will start at 11 o'clock over at the World War Memorial Park. Should be about a half hour, 45 minutes. We'll do a ceremony. We have a guest speaker from our high school. Right now we have the band locked on. We have a singer that's coming out to sing the national anthem. And we're going to showcase, I believe Senator Fatman and Representative Durant will be there as well, who will provide a big check, which is worth nothing, but the check is fine. The small check is better. Anyways, so please, to the residents, come on out and join us for that special day on Veterans Day. Again, 11 o'clock on the 11th of November, and we'll kick it off. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Marchetti.
I just wanted to ask Councilor Adams if anything could be done with the ARPA money with regard to the health problem here.
Yes, sir. No, Councilor Marchetti, to Councilor Marchetti's point, this is one of those things that we were talking about, and we have not heard anything back. I believe Mr. Bailey had talked about doing some dental stuff at the schools, for the kids. Nothing's come back. He's talked to Moore over at the hospital. He's talked to the councilwoman in Worcester. He's talked to the town manager in a sense, but it hasn't gone anywhere. And so I'm a little frustrated, but yes, we have. In other areas too as well.
Okay.
I didn't know.
As Councilor Adams added, we received an email update from Ed Moore the Sunday night before this meeting, letting us know, and that was the first indication that we received officially, but it all came through back channels that this was a problem. And in very short order, there was a packed meeting room down at RMG with stakeholders who, there were representatives from a variety of different areas, and we've had them back. But they were all people that were willing to help, and I helped get Senator Fatman, Representative Durant was actually there in person, Senator Fatman's office was there, and everybody pledged their support in whatever way we could. We didn't pledge money, we said, come back to us with a plan, and we'll see what we can do. And we all committed to helping because we realized it was a valued resource. And as Councilor Adams said, we didn't really get much of a response. We had to keep reaching out to Mr. Brady and others, and very little feedback. And he called me and asked, would we be willing to work with Dr. Villar to maybe entertain a temporary facility on site? And I checked with Dr. Villar. He said he'd be open to it. Let's have a meeting. And then nothing happened. So.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick, a former councilor texted me that 4 years ago, the town council voted $30,000 to fix the roofs. If you could look into that, TM, I know you don't need another thing on your plate, but that can be a serious problem.
So, and I will, and just when you said that, I know when I first got here, one of the first rainstorms I got here, there were buckets put out by the staff who knew about it. And, I did speak to it to different people along the way about let's get it checked out. But as you noted from earlier this evening, downstairs at DPW, Mr. Harding has been doing a great job of getting on these things, including Hunter's Ridge. So I will reach out to him tomorrow. I made some notes from tonight's counselors forum. We'll talk about a couple of things, get an update on the carpet, get an update on the slate roof.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Agenda item number 19, discussion of next meeting date, Monday, November 7th, 7 p.m. here in the dais.
Very good. And I want to remind citizens that we do have a trash committee, subcommittee, and we need 5 citizens on the committee. Please send your letter of interest to the town manager. We are looking in particular for a senior citizen and a landlord. I'll take item number 20, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes.
I guess I qualify as the senior citizen, is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's 10 years ago.